my coffee.
What do you got? What are you drinking?
Jameson.
Oh man, shit, makes me want to get one.
Please do.
No, it's too early. I can't believe it today.
Is that your drink of choice? Or is it?
Sometimes I like Jameson.
Yeah. Are you a Scotch guy?
Used to be.
Yeah.
Used to be.
Okay.
But not anymore. Let's see, I don't know if we can see this. I have a tattoo of the Scotch guy on my arm.
Okay.
Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker.
It says rest in peace. You know,
Wow.
I like Johnny Walker so much I went to rehab twice.
No.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When was this?
Trying to think. Oh, maybe about 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay. But
Yeah,
I mean,
when I my daughter talked me and says, Dad, when I got out the second time, she says, Dad, I told her I want to get a tattoo. Because I had one. She says, get another tattoo and get the Johnny Walker guy, put rest in peace under it. And I did.
okay. Well, that's commitment, you know.
Yeah, but sometimes he comes back to life. He's upside down, but once in a while, you know. No,
that's funny.
Don't do that too much. I don't do that much anymore.
No.
I have 2 martinis at night.
Oh, do you?
Like at 7 o'clock.
But you enjoy the wine too, right? Like a good wine.
Yeah, I used to, but nah. I don't like wine hangovers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because of the sugars.
Yeah, we're not talking like, you know, a glass of wine or 2. We're talking the bottle of it.
Well,
another AA meeting.
So what I do with the martinis, my wife's on the same schedule too. We get a pint of Tito, just a pint.
Oh, yeah. Tito.
Of course, if I get the 5th, the whole 5th is gone. So just a pint, and you know, this way, I can't get any more. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's that extremist thing, and if it's there, you're gonna.
Yeah, and also, you know, I got a DUI around the same time I was talking to Johnny Walker.
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring that up because I was watching one of your latest video posts around New Year's, and you were warning the children, you know, don't be an idiot. If you're going to drink your ass off, do it at home. And so you had and if you're okay talking about it, you had a DUI, and 2 of them.
Yeah, well, I went to rehab twice. It comes from the DUI. Yeah. And you know what's funny? The second time I went to a different place. I went to a high-class place, you know. First place was okay, you know.
Okay.
And both places, this is kind of scary. They're all young people, you know, my daughter's age. They're in their teens or early 20s.
Okay.
And they're there for Oxycontin or shooting up or Percocet. Okay. Second place I went, I hear a girl's voice. Mr. Bruno, do you remember me? And I thought, who the hell knows me over here? One of my daughter's girlfriends that used to come over the house.
Oh, no.
She showed me her arm.
Oh,
right?
Jesus.
I says, how did that happen? She says, well, it started out with Oxycontin pills. And then they were like 50. She said the street price was like $50.
Yeah.
She says, well, I ran out of money and I couldn't steal from my parents anymore. So I found out that you can get a $10 bag of heroin. It's the same high.
It's the same high. Yeah. Well, you know, they called Oxy the hillbilly heroin.
Well, yeah. It's you know, it's kind of scary, you know.
It's like, very scary. Yeah.
You're not even 21 and you hit your arm. You know, and so there was me and the only older people that were there my age were cops and firemen.
Okay.
Wow.
And you never believe it, a train the guy that drives the train, like the suburban line.
Yeah. You
know?
mean on like SEPTA?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
I says, how do you? I says, what's your choice of drink? Your choice. He says, beer. He says, I had it stashed all over the train. All the little doors.
Wow.
Yeah. I says, man, I didn't think anybody could come to rehab because you drink too much beer. It's hard to drink that much beer.
Well, talk to Tony. Yeah.
Well, anything else than beer is bad for me. I can tell you that.
Okay. So I says, how do you get that messed up on beer? He says, I would buy a 32 pack and drink the whole thing.
Mm.
In one sitting.
Yeah.
Jesus.
At work while he's driving the train.
Right. Right. Yeah.
He says, well, the train usually stops by itself. He says, I really don't need to be there.
Oh man.
That's messed up. I said, it's a good thing you're not an air controller guy.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, so yeah, when you're meeting, cops and firefighters, like in a lot of ways, I'm not surprised, because of that line of work.
It's very common.
Into one of the things I've always wanted to talk to you about in terms of education with music. I've read some interviews and for Tony's benefit, I actually may open this up by talking about my first encounter with you, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
My first encounter with Jimmy Bruno.
Was that at JJ's Grotto?
That's at JJ's Grotto. And I also want to preface this by saying, and I mean this with all the affection in the world, Jimmy, you scare the shit out of me. And I mean that with all the affection in the world.
I wonder what I did.
Oh, no, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. So, as I think we spoke about this on the phone, one of the things that, to walk into your world, which is what I did, and it was because of Joe Massimiano, God bless him, bringing, I'm a rock guy, and then Joe asked me to come in and walking into your world. And I said this to you on the phone. I felt like I had no business being there, though I was so happy to be there. Like, wow, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm. I came to see you play, you and Joe, right?
Yeah, you and Pat had come out.
Pat Martino, I remember it real well. Yes.
Well, the interesting thing about Pat, and I have some Pat stories too, but you're the only one I've ever seen get Pat to really loosen up. Like I saw Pat. Like when you would come out, like you have that. By the way, Tony, Jimmy is the best joke teller. That
well, something. I remember that. I remember it so well because, he remembers it too. I used to talk to him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we were sitting at Pat's house and we got bored and we were drinking. I mean, Pat was into drinking a lot of Heineken at the time. And he told me his doctor told him that to drink as much beer as possible to gain weight because he was really thin. I said, well, Pat, I can't imagine your doctor telling you to drink a case of beer. I mean, and he very hard to tell if he got a buzz or not because nothing changed.
Wow,
right?
It was the same. Didn't slur his words. You know what I mean? But I could tell. That he had a buzz, after being around him for a while. So when we got there, I don't know, I can't speak for Pat, but I was pretty well shot in the ass because I was drinking. He had this brandy that he liked. I forget the name of it. I don't know, something VIP, Remy Martin VIP or some shit like that. So he's pounding that, and Aya, his wife, is bringing me. These shots, and he's going, get Jimmy a cocktail, then she'd walk off. Pat never turned the light on in his house. It was always dark in there.
Really?
If I went at noon, beautiful summer day, there's Pat, no light on, and he's writing in a journal, and I get Jimmy a cocktail. I didn't even know she was in the room. And all of a sudden, a cocktail appeared. And the first time this happened, I jumped. I says, geez, Pat, I was some wooden shoes or something. I mean,
Oh my God.
I didn't even know she was there. And she's such a sweet lady,
Yeah.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes,
mean,
she is.
I don't think she's doing very well now. She misses
Oh,
Pat.
really?
Well, they were pretty tight,
Yeah, they were.
She traveled with him. She went on the road,
Well, I have an interesting story about that. It's speaking of cocktails. When Pat came to the Grand, when I was the director there at the music school at the Grand Opera House in Wilmington,
right.
Pat did Saturday. He came in and did a guitar clinic,
Right.
a 4-hour long guitar clinic.
Yeah.
Because Pat didn't do anything halfway.
Right.
And then at the end of that clinic, after everyone had left, he came to me, and I can't do it as well as you, Jimmy, but Chris, is there an establishment that we can go to and enjoy some libations? And I said, now this is downtown Wilmington. And I said, there isn't a bar around here that I would recommend to an enemy. I said, however, there's a bar in this establishment, and I have the key to the refrigerator. So Pat and I hung out, and we probably put down, I don't know, 3 or 4 beers apiece.
Yeah.
Had a great night, just the two of us hanging out, talking about life. Walking back to the hotel. The next night, he's performing on the main stage at the Grand Opera House.
Right.
Aya is with him. Come in. I introduced them. I walk out on stage. I said, ladies and gentlemen, and I go back down to the green room, and I had set up a little station for Aya to sit on the side of the stage if she wanted to. She says to me, I prefer just to stay here because we had speakers in the green room.
Yeah.
Well, but there's no one else like hanging out. I felt horrible like leaving her there.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, can I get you anything? And she's like, well, is there anything to drink? So I proceed to get Aya hammered.
Right.
So by the time Pat comes, and Vic Stevens was on that gig.
Okay.
I think Vic was on that show. So by the time Pat comes down from the show 2 hours later, Aya's not feeling a lot of pain. And like Pat, she's very well purporting herself very well. So I run up to make sure that the crew is taking care of Pat's gear.
Yeah.
And when I come back downstairs, and Pat comes out of the room and he goes, Chris, I need to speak with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm about to get eviscerated.
Right.
And he comes up and he says, I want to share my appreciation for having Aya feel at home. And I said, Pat, I got her drunk. And he goes, it's okay. I think it was good for her. So we're hanging out in the green room at the end of the night. And Pat says to me from across the table, leans back because he's now 3 beers in. He goes, Chris, why aren't you doing radio? And my response to him, because I'm 7 beers in, is my guitar playing that bad, Pat?
Each because you have a great voice. That's why he asked you that.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's funny because my father was in radio all my life, all his life. And I remember thinking, and he said to me, he says, I think you should call Temple and do a jazz show at the Temple radio station.
That's right.
I think, yeah. And they never returned my calls. So there's that.
Yeah.
So anyway, continuing on. So you and Pat are kind of in the bag, and you come to the grotto.
Yeah, well, we got bored. Pat was talking to me about the constellations, the 12 apostles, 12 months, 12 notes.
Yeah.
And, it's a one-way conversation. And there I am. Yeah, Pat. Really? Huh? Tell me about the triangles. Okay. And then I says, Pat, let's go hear some music. He says, where would you like to go, Jimmy? There's no music here tonight. I says, I know a place. And we took a cab to, right. And Pat gets in the cab and he rolls down the window. Okay. He's got his head out the window like a dog. And I'm going, Pat, what are you doing? He says, I smell carbon monoxide and I'm having a bit trouble breathing. Okay. And he was right because I smelled it too. The cab was leaking carbon monoxide.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I remember that night real well.
This is all before Uber, where it's like.
Yeah. And, I used to talk to him. I said, do you remember when we went to? Yes, I have very fond memories of that evening,
My fond memory or my terrified moment of that evening was Joe and I were playing, and then Joe turns to me. He says, Jimmy's going to sit in. And I went to get off the bandstand, and he was like, no, you stay. And I said, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Wow.
Joe's guitar, yeah.
And so you said to me, we're going to do a blues. And when you went into your improv, I'm sweating, I'm soaked, and I'm just trying to hold it down. And all of a sudden, and I said this to you on the phone, and I'm doing this for Tony's benefit and for the listeners, as I hear this syncopation from you that I had never heard before. Not from you, but from anyone. Like just this ridiculous 16th note syncopation. I look over, and I don't know if you remember this, Jimmy. You're staring at me with this grin on your shit-eating grin. And there's no pick in your hand. It's all thumb. And it's like, like just ridiculous. And at that point I said, I'm getting my paper route back. And I'm putting legs on this guitar and I'm making it a coffee table. What am I doing here? But I have to say that it was an honor and you were gracious to me. And it was just a crazy memory, Yeah,
it was a good memory, I really can't believe that he's not around anymore. I talked to him. I first met him, I was 15. I saw Grendel's Lair, I think. My father drove me. And then I really didn't know him. My father introduced me to him. My father knew him.
Okay.
He knew his father. He was telling me the story when he was a kid. My father was working some club in Jersey, and Pat's father took Pat with him and asked my father if he could sit in. And my father says, sure, but he looks really young, He's like 15 or something. And he sat in and he played Jordu, an old bebop tune, very hard to play.
Okay.
And my father never heard anything like that ever.
Wow.
He was so good, So he remembers, I make a long story short, I moved to Las Vegas, then I moved to LA, okay? In the course of over 16 years, right? And I heard he got sick, okay, with the aneurysm, et cetera. Then, I see him back out playing again. I read it somewhere, maybe in a Downbeat or magazine. There was no internet then. So I called him, and I forgot about the time difference,
Okay.
I called him at midnight, my time in LA. And I found his number in the Philadelphia phone book.
Wow.
Okay. It's the same number he had all his life. Okay. A landline. And it rang for a while. Hello? And I said, is this Pat Martino? He says, yes. Who am I speaking to? He says, Jimmy Bruno. Do you remember me? He says, I heard of you, but I don't remember you. I knew a guitar player named Jimmy Bruno, but he's dead. Is this him? I says, no, Pat, it's his son. Are you sure? I mean, he got me and my father a little bit mixed up.
Oh, okay.
And finally he knew I was.
Okay.
And he's very gracious. I must have talked to him for an hour. And he says, by the way, Jimmy, he says, It's 4:00 in the morning. I need to go back to sleep. I forgot about the time change, but call me tomorrow if you want to talk, and it was really, every time I talked to him, he sounded better and better. Things were
Right.
gradually coming back to him.
Mm-hmm.
He used to tell me that his short-term memory was, I can't remember which way it was. His short-term memory was not that good, but he could remember things from a long time ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So as he got better, more memories came back to him, and I think he always needed always wanted a piece of music in front of him, even for his own tunes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And I asked, I says, "How come?" He says, "I'm afraid I'm going to forget the song." I says, "Come on, Pat, you're not going to forget the goddamn song. You've been playing it, like this." It was just a crutch, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you think it was kind of like a blanket, just kind of a security thing.
Yeah, because I mean, I've heard him many times. I've heard him play standard tunes, without the music.
Without the music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he told
Was
me
there?
that he couldn't read. I asked him about reading. He says, "Oh, I never really studied it. I really can't. I don't read at all." And I was playing at Chris's Jazz Cafe. He came in one time, and somebody gave me a Wes Montgomery tune, a lead sheet for it,
Okay.
because we were talking about Wes Montgomery, because he's saying he's going to make a record, with Wes tunes.
Right.
And I think the song was Jingles. It's like a blues, but the head's really hard. And I says, "Do you know that?" And he looked at the music and sight sang it to me perfectly.
Really?
Yeah, I says,
Wow.
"I thought you couldn't read." He says, "Yeah, but I've heard this song once before."
Once before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think did he say something about that when he was out with was it McGriff or someone when he was young, and
Right.
he would look at the lead sheet and he would say, "I don't know," and then the guy, I think it was might have been the alto player, would come over and say and play it.
Right, right.
And then he would, oh, okay. So then he was able to associate.
Maybe that. I mean, he had a great memory for music, and
Mhm.
tune, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe he, I don't know. I think
So-
he really could read music.
So of all those times that you were hanging out at his house, and I is getting you cocktails, did you ever talk about doing a record together?
all the time.
Did
Oh.
you?
Yeah, and he says, it was very complicated at the time because I was signed to Concord Records and Pat was maybe with Muse or might have been Warner Brothers or Bruno, and it was. I know that Concord would have said to me, the guy that my connection to Concord, which was the owner, which was Carl Jefferson. If
Carl
I
Jefferson, correct.
called
Yep.
him and says, "I want to do this, record with Pat Martino," he would say, "Of course you can do it," But then he would say, "Well, when is it going to be released?" Okay, and I says to him, everybody called him Jeff. I says, "Jeff, why does that matter?" He says, "Well, I just don't want it to come out the same time your record is going to come."
Mhm.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's why it probably never happens, because I'm sure Pat, on his end, would have the same issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if it was around that time that you were on Concord, he was with Muse, so that would have coincided with that time.
Right.
Yeah, because when I met you for the first time, I think it was between Burning, the 1994 release,
Right.
and the Concord Jazz Guitar Collection, which was
Right.
1995. That was around the time that I first encountered you. So and Pat.
Carl
Mhm.
Jefferson treated me great. Carl Jefferson, a guy named John Burke, was
Mhm.
second in command there. I could get John Burke on the phone.
Okay.
Very easily. And then there was a point to this. It's only one person made the decisions there, Carl Jefferson. Okay, he's either going to say yes or no.
Excuse me.
Okay. If you wanted to do something, you had to talk to him. You know, and it was easy because some record companies, my God, you got this guy, you know. And so it was like I remember after Burning, after Sleight of Hand.
Which was the first release, right? On Conquer. Yep.
And so I didn't hear from him. I didn't know. I mean, I was supposed to do another one. The contract said one with an option to do another one. Okay.
Okay.
And so a year went by and I didn't hear from him. So I called him. I said, Jeff, how you doing? And such like that. He says, oh, hey kid, you need money to make another record? Is that what you want to do? And I says, yeah. And he says, okay, do I have your right address like that? I says, yes. He says, why? He says, well, I'm going to send you a check and send me the record when it's done.
Wow.
And I says, well, do you want an accounting for the money I spent? He says, no.
Wow.
I'll send you the money. Send me a check for $10,000.
Okay.
Okay. And, and he says, just get it done and send it to me. And don't take too long.
Don't take too long.
Meaning, like, some I said, I'm not going to go to Atlantic City. I'm not going to go to Las Vegas with the $10,000.
Right.
So it was a lot. I just never saw a check for that amount of money. And I never met at this point. I never met Carl Jefferson. He was a voice, right?
Oh wow.
And so I says, well, you want an accounting of this? He says, no. He says, what do you mean? He says, well, that's if you can make a good record for me for $10,000, I'm good with that. He says, I don't care what you do with the money. I don't care if you don't pay any. He wasn't interested in all that shit. And then after Burning, which I didn't like the final mastering of it. I was very disappointed in it.
Okay.
I thought the guitar sounded too bright, but he liked it. I mentioned it to him. He said it's a little edgy. He says, but it's good, right? And so I go out there and meet him, right? And he liked to cook. And he had a kitchen in the studio. And he says, I'm going to make Italian food, he was a big guy, and he had really bad emphysema and shit, so I made sure that I didn't smoke near him.
Okay.
And so anyway, there was a girl who worked at Concord, okay? And she had like a voice that you think that she's gorgeous, okay? And I won't say her name. And so we're all sitting there. I first time I met anybody there, the art director, the guy who approved the pictures, they were just voices. And he introduced me to all these people. And I said, by the way, where is, and I mentioned this girl's name. And he says to me, she's sitting to your right. And I looked at her. I didn't say anything. He whispered in my ear. He says, ugly, isn't she? Is what he said. And I just couldn't stop laughing. It was like, I says, are you inside my head? How did you know? Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. It was, and then we went to some party, and then he's throwing a party at his house. And it's not a big mansion, big record executive mansion at all. It's a nice house. Had a big yard, And so I went outside to smoke in the yard, okay? And he's sitting out there, and I went as far away from him as possible, way in the corner. And he's just sitting at a table there. And he says, Jimmy, come over here. And I says, is it the cigarette bothering you? He says, no, could you get closer? Because I like the way it smells. I said, I don't want to be the guy that, And he says, nah, that's okay. Come over here. Smoke over here.
Right. Yeah.
And it was nothing the way I thought, it would be.
Right.
Concord was a big label, I asked him, I says, how are you going to make it? He showed me how many sleight of hands I sold. He says, it's okay. I says, well, how are you going to get your money back for that? He says, I don't want the money back this year. He says, I'll keep that in my catalog forever. He says, at the end of 10 years, he says, I'll get my money back and then some.
Right.
That's where he ran the whole company like that.
Yeah.
At first, in the beginning, he says, how come I never heard of you? This was on a phone. And I says, well, I don't know. He says, were you in jail? I'll be in jail. He says, because you're 35 years old. He says, I would have heard of you if, on the jazz scene. Because at the time, if you played guitar, you were on Concord Record. They always recorded guitar players.
So how were you just so what was the discovery then from him? Did he come to you said you had never met him, but
no,
somehow
I was playing at JJ's Grotto. One of the owners, Jack Prince, liked jazz. He liked jazz guitar. And so he would tape me all the time. And I said, Jack, what are you doing with tapes? He says, maybe we'll make a record one day. I says, you're out of here, Gord. And Sleight of Hand came up. He financed the whole thing. And I said, what are you going to do with this? Sell it out in the club? I said, he says, well, I'll get you a record deal. And he just kept calling Concord Records. Talked to a guy named John Burke.
Gotcha.
Called him every day at the same time for like months.
Really? Yeah.
Until it became annoying. There was 3 tunes on a cassette tape that he sent him. And he says, well, I'm going to lunch now. I've got to go to lunch with Jeff, Carl Jefferson. He says, well, look, you got a tape player in your car? He says, of course I do. He says, will you put it in the car on your way to lunch? He says, and if you don't like it, call me back and say, I don't like it. And he says, I'll never call you again. And that's what made this guy, John, listen to it. He's in the car with Carl Jefferson. Okay?
Yeah.
That's how annoying Jack became.
Well, you need that,
And called back, left a message, and says, "Do you have more of this?"
Nice.
And we says, "Yeah, we have a whole record," and that's how we did Sleight of Hand.
Where did you record Sleight of Hand? Was not at the venue.
No, it was the engineer was a guy named David Ivory.
I know David. I've worked with David.
Yeah, he had a studio in Royersford, I think. I don't remember the name of it.
That's where I was. That's where I recorded with him.
Yeah. And he did Burnin' too, but at a different studio.
Okay.
I might have been Sigma Sound.
Oh yeah, Sigma. I've recorded there too. So when you went in to do those records, was that? I mean, I'm assuming they were pretty live, right?
Yeah.
Went in.
The Sleight of Hand was just. It was all one take.
Yeah.
Wow.
Would you do that? Jimmy, would you go in and record, like, say you were going to do a record, would you do the set of tunes, maybe take a smoke break and a cocktail break, come back and do them again, and then pick the best of both? Or was it like, that was it?
Well, after that, okay. After Burnin', all the rest of the records had a producer.
Okay.
Somebody from Concord. Sometimes it was John Burke, sometimes a guy named Nick Phillips. He was him and I got along really well. And it was here was the deal was you have to fill up 60 minutes.
Okay.
And preferably 58, 57. This is, why? CDs, they were new.
Yep.
And if it went over 60 minutes, some of the tunes wouldn't play or would skip. This is what they told me, And so, and the other thing too was the tracks. You couldn't have no 9-minute track, because it won't get any airplay.
Okay.
6 minutes, 7 minutes tops. And so very few bass solos. Carl Jefferson did not like bass solos.
Really?
Sometimes he would take them out.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know why, but hey, he became successful. I mean, he owned the whole town out there. It was Walnut Grove in California. He owned everything, all the land. He had a car business. That's where he got money from.
He had a what? I'm sorry.
A car dealership.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Several, and he used that. That was his hobby. Was his record label.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the rest of them. Actually, I'm trying to think. After Burning, I don't know. Oh, Concord Jazz Guitar Collective, I think. Actually, I met Howard Alden. I went up to New York, and Howard Alden and I made a record. Okay, which became Full Circle. It's a double album. The other album is the very first one that he recorded, which was Joe Pass and Herb Ellis.
Wow.
This one was his last one because he was sick, cancer, and they knew he was going to die. Okay. So Howard and I recorded that first. And then he says to me, I met Frank Vignola through Carl Jefferson, and then he wanted to do the great guitars again, me, Howard, and Concord Jazz Guitar Collective. And we recorded them very close to each other. And he decided to put Concord Jazz Guitar Collective first. Then the Howard Alden record, Full Circle, was next. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Wow.
And then there was, I don't even know the order of it. I think Live at Birdland 1 and 2.
Yes. Yeah, which I think they were spaced apart because I think Full Circle was 98.
Right.
I could be wrong, but I think it was 98. Right. And Live at Birdland 2 was 99, but Live at Birdland 1 was 97.
Okay, they were 2 nights that I played at Birdland.
Okay.
One night was with Bobby Watson. The next night was with Scott Hamilton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The first night was Bobby Watson, and because I had been playing with Bobby a lot during that period, and so it was time for another record. And I talked to them, I'm going to do Bobby Watson, and they said, okay, now how about we do Scott Hamilton the following night? I said, well, I don't know Scott Hamilton. I never played with him, and I think I said in a tactful way that I don't think it's a good match for me.
Okay.
I was more of a bebopper, and Scott was. It's hard to describe me. Plays great. It's just not my style of music. And I never met him, and I never played with him. So I didn't know what was going. I really don't like to do that.
Okay.
I met Scott Hamilton on stage.
Okay.
Wow.
I had called him. I says, John, I got to get a hold of him. Maybe he could meet me for the sound check at 6:00, and we'll go over some tunes. Okay, give him a call. I called him. He says, yeah, I'll be there. He didn't come.
Really?
I saw him walk in at 10 of 8. 10 of 8, walked backstage.
Oh, my God.
Came on the stage. I shook his hand. His hand was like ice. Okay. I think he was really high. I'm not sure. And so, I thought, wow, this is going to be a disaster. So I panicked and I waved John Burke over. He says, is he okay? He's going to play okay? He says, yeah. He says, play a throwaway too. Get him going.
Okay.
Broadway. That tune, the first time.
Damn. Yep.
And he came in the wrong key, but they fixed it. It was like a fifth away. But he got it right away as soon as he, got a great ear.
Okay.
And we wind up keeping it, and the rest of it came out pretty good.
That's great.
But I really got to the engineer on that. I really got to give that. I think it was Paul Whitecliffe.
Okay.
Pretty sure, and he was backstage with all this recording gear. The backstage is really, really small, and there was no way for me to communicate with him. Okay, because there's an audience out there. So what he did was he put a light on the stage, and I says, "Let me know when I get to the 5-minute mark." He says, "That's a good idea."
Oh wow!
Wow!
He would flash the light, and then it's time to take the
get out of the tune. Wow!
Oh, that's fucking genius.
Because when you're live, I mean, things can tend to go on for 9-10 minutes for a song.
Yeah,
and Carl Jefferson, he would be unhappy, I think, or he may not put it out because it doesn't get any airplay.
Well, it's interesting you talk about that length of time. And there's actually 2 questions in this that are somewhat unrelated, but I have to go here. One of the things about you, iconic things about you, in your improvisations. If someone was ever to come and see you at Chris's Cafe or even at Grottos, I think because they were allowing smoking then.
Yeah.
Was this? Hold on. My cigarettes are outside, right? So you would play. So Tony, so he would Jimmy would go into an improv, and if he was inspired, that 100 cigarette that would burn to the butt.
Yeah.
And it was the people would talk about this. They were like,
yeah.
Jimmy's on fire tonight. He never
in your right hand.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah,
right there. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I get a lot of questions about it, and people ask me about it, and I say, "Well, that's how I know when the solo's over when my hand gets burned."
I think I might need to do that. That's enough, Tony.
Yeah, this is like a terrible habit.
Well,
oh yeah, no, I the only reason I'm not smoking is because I can't smoke in my studio. I'd be lighting them up myself.
I don't know how you could drink Jameson without a cigarette.
Yeah, well, I got my cigarette smoking done out of the early this morning.
Hey, do you know that speaking of Jameson, okay?
Yeah.
There's this place that my daughter turned me on to. So I like to go chicken wings, okay? And they have to be really hot. And I don't want to sit at the table. You have to sit at a bar.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Especially during the pandemic, it was like, man, everything was closed for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
And the first place that opened that had a bar was this place called McGurk's. Okay.
McGurk's.
And they had the best chicken wings. Okay.
Really?
That and a beer. Okay. But it had to be sitting at a bar. It was really crowded too. But
so Tony, I'm sorry, Tony, you had a
I was just wondering, Jimmy, when during your recording and performance career, when did you decide that doing education would also be something that you would like to do?
I got tired of going on the road.
Okay.
So, and that's where you make money, is traveling.
Right.
You can't play in Philly. You just can't keep playing the same place. And, they can only charge $10, $20 cover, And even Pat would tell me, you're playing too much at this place, because Pat would play there once or twice a year. That's it,
Right.
Okay.
So he was always on the road, and I got tired of traveling, and so this teaching thing came about, and the income was pretty good, Instead of teaching one person, I was teaching hundreds. People would sign up. I no longer have the online school. I closed it this year. Not last year.
Okay.
For a long time. Too much bookkeeping, records, and taxes. And I had a payroll company. I had employees. It just got not worth it.
Right. It destroyed the fun of actually being an educator and seeing it's just mind-boggling how much stuff you have to do, and it takes away from what you really want.
You know, I mean, the IRS was so far up my ass with all that shit, you know, and I'm a bad bookkeeper, you know.
Yeah.
So am I.
I had to hire an employee, I had to hire an accountant, and all of a sudden, that $60,000 or $75,000 that was taken in after I got done paying all these people. I mean, would wind up with maybe 25,000, 20, 30 good year. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that because, I mean, it wasn't that I had to go into a cubicle for 8 hours, you know.
Right.
I just got tired of being audited by the IRS every year.
Wow.
Every year. And, you know, and it was like, I got to know the auditor, a woman.
Right. Yeah. Like you're on a first name basis with him at that point.
Yeah. Her name was Kitty. It was her first name.
Wow.
Kitty something. And I said, boy, you really got a name like a chick singer in a band, you know. She laughed. She really tried to help me, you know.
Yeah.
Said, next year, she says, well, you know, your form got flagged again. And I says, what? She says, well, I told you last year when you were here to pay it quarterly.
Yeah.
You know,
I suck at that.
I didn't do it. You know, I don't like it. I don't like numbers like that. You know,
right.
Bookkeeping and
yeah.
You know.
Well, at one point you were at the University of the Arts.
Yeah.
And were you the head of the guitar department?
Eventually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
wow. I liked that place. The guy that ran the jazz department was Mark Gucciani, an great drummer, an old friend of mine. You know, I knew him for years. He was with Ben Vereen for a lot of years. Nice to see him. Just a good guy, you know. But you know, you're in academia, and there's certain things that makes it academia that you have to adhere to, you know, because it's very complicated. You have to have a syllabus. What are you going to teach? You know,
right,
and all that, and it's a real pain in the ass, you know, and it's hard to, you know, give a young person a C or a D or an F, you know, and believe me, not everybody has talent. Usually it's like a kid that he could play some rock and roll guitar, you know, like maybe can do one thing really good. Now to his parents, that kid's a genius. Send him to music school. Okay, I mean they think like that, you know, and it's like none of them can read music. Okay, which is like I'm stopped at that point.
Yeah,
you know,
and I
really wanted to tell them go get the Mel Bay books, start book one. Nobody did it. You know, you can't fail everybody.
Well, I wanted to ask you about this. So I had run into Frank Zappa one day when Chick Corea was coming through the Grand, and this is right at the tail end of his LAMA time as the director of the guitar department. So he was telling me that when he had presented the syllabus, the curriculum, and he went through a couple of semesters, and the director came to him and said, "Oh, you gotta dumb it down." I mean, that's not the vernacular that was used, but you have to dumb it down because we're losing students because it's too hard for them. And Frank is sitting there going, "What are you talking about? Too hard?
It's already dumbed down."
Right. So after the second time it happened, he walked away and took his curriculum with him. So is that something that you have seen in current education?
Yeah. You know, the academic part of it pissed me off. You know, this is a funny story. Okay, at the end of the semester, students had to go call the jury. Okay, So all the guitar teachers at the time, I think there was 5 of us at University of Arts, or 4. And so you had to come up with something. Here's what they have to play, and you graded on them. Okay.
Mhm.
That happened because music is subjective, right?
Correct. Yes.
So some kid who was a terrible student, okay, couldn't play, right? Father was a lawyer, and he sued the school. He attempted to sue the school because music is subjective. How can you, one person, look at this art and, you know, somebody says it's great, or another guy says it's a piece of shit, because it's subjective. How can you, you know? So, of course, the school passed the kid rather than go through a court thing. Okay? So that's where the jury comes in. So they had to play specific things.
Right.
So now you can't get sued.
Right.
Okay, because you have to play these inversions. You have to be able to play these scales at the end of the semester. Okay, at a certain tempo, etc. Because now you can't get sued because now it's not subjective.
Right.
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 And that was just as bad too, because there were some kids that could really play, but they couldn't pass the jury. You know.
Wow.
Sure. There was one kid that came. This was his senior year, right? He was going to graduate, okay? A good guitar player, okay? But he wasn't that kind of guy to play this scale with 5 fingerings or, some ridiculous academic bullshit. See, you had to put a lot of shit in there so that the people up, above over there, the paper pushers that know nothing about music, but, and they make all the money. Anyway, that's a whole other scene. So anyway, so this kid came to the jury stoned out of his gourd.
Really?
With pot, yeah.
Okay.
And we're looking at each other, and we all knew him. He was a nice kid, and one of the best students that we all ever had.
Okay.
And we started to get the giggles a little bit, And he says, "Well, what am I supposed to play?" So I says, "Well, try this." And he says, "Well, that motherfucker never taught me that." Because he got really fucking nasty. What is this bullshit? I hate this shit. And he's and he's telling us we all suck as teachers. You suck. You can't teach. There's 4 of us there, man. We just laughed our fucking. I said, "Well, Eric, I'll give you an A. Is that okay?"
That makes me cry.
I mean, I'll never forget that.
Oh,
he
man.
told us all we all suck. The school sucked. Why do I have to play this fucking bullshit? He's cursing at us. It was like, wow. So years go by. Years, okay? I went to see Bill Frisell concert, a doctor friend of mine, okay?
Okay.
I'm not a Bill Frisell fan. And so I go to this place. I mean, it was packed, But the music was so fucking boring, all ballads and shit, I couldn't make it for the second set, But I did know the guy who opened up for him, a guitar player. Not really. I mean, Bill Frisell was playing these things like texture pieces, almost like not classical, legitimate kind of music, And
Right.
that's not my thing. I don't, I don't appreciate. I have no appreciation for that. If I want to hear that, I'll go hear Ravel. Anyway, but there's a guy that opened up for him, a guitar player by himself. He had modified his guitar, different strange tunings, and just sounded great. So I wanted to go over and talk to him, when they took a break. And I did. Really a nice kid. I'm looking over there. I'm looking down the row of seats, and there's a guy there that looks familiar to me. And I'm staring at him. He's staring at me. He says, "Mr. Bruno, Jimmy, I'm the guy who took the jury stoned." It was him. I just, man, Eric, holy shit, man. What are you doing, He says, well, I became a pediatrician. I have 2 kids. This is my wife. You went to medical school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's speaking of metal,
I wanted to.
Well, you had the scores to do so.
I wanted
to. But there was a change. Like didn't you do like a gig in Wildwood that ended up leading to the Buddy Rich audition?
No, it wasn't connected with that. It was
okay.
It was connected to pussy and money.
All right, you know what? Give me a second. I gotta pee. That's fucking funny.
With a cover band called Massey and the Untouchables.
Okay? And the Untouchables?
Yeah, like this TV show. Okay, and we all had dressed in pinstripes like gangsters.
Yep.
Okay.
It was a good band. It was really a good band. And we're playing this place 5 or 6 nights a week. This was before Buddy Rich. So it had to be, 72.
Yeah, because I think the Buddy Rich thing was 73, right?
Right. Okay. And I was getting $175 a week cash, which is a lot of money. And there was women, endless women all the time, It's like, whoa, got to go to college now. Fuck college.
Fuck college. I'm fucking something else.
I want to be a musician, and broke my father's heart, really did, And,
wow.
Yeah, really did. He always told me, he says, you got a brain, don't be a musician. It's a whore's business. Play on the weekends. He was a professional musician his whole life,
Right. And your mother was a singer.
Yeah, in the band. That's how they met. Yeah.
That's right. Right.
And so, my mother would push me more into, she was like a stage mother.
Okay.
She was very supportive of me. My brother played drums very well too. So she was like the stage mother. But anyway, I was living in Las Vegas. He was getting sick, and he says to me one time, he says, I have to ask you this question. It's been on my mind for a long, long time. Okay. This is so unlike Jimmy Bruno Sr. Okay. He would tell me jokes or, talk guitar. He had a great sense of humor. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden he's very serious. And I thought, man, what the hell's he going to ask me? I got scared. And he says, I have to know, when you made that decision to not go to medical school and be a musician, he said, were you taking LSD when you made that? Were you on acid when you made that?
Were you on acid?
Man.
I just started to laugh, and he started to laugh, and he says, I want you to know I'm very proud of you. You play very good. My father never complimented me on. I said, Dad, how I sound. Here was his answer.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it's not, yeah. He really didn't want me to do this at all.
But isn't that interesting? I find that fascinating, though, because him being a musician, what was he? It was not. He was on like a hit record.
Yeah, 1959, Guitar Boogie Shuffle.
Guitar, right? That was
yeah. Virtues. He got screwed so fucking bad he never recorded again.
Oh, so I don't. So perhaps it wasn't your playing; it was what he feared. And this conjecture.
I think you're right.
But he feared that he didn't want you to suffer his pain.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
And it's kind of a weird way to go about it. Like, yeah.
Well, something. My father was around booze his entire life. Okay. Never drank. The only time I ever see my father take a drink was maybe around Christmas Eve. The neighbors would come over, he'd drink Anisette or a VO. Never like that. My mother didn't drink. When he turned 50 years old, became an alcoholic. Okay, he was drinking like a fifth of JB a day, then 2/5. Okay, he was drunk all the time, morning to night. Okay, but he was a funny drunk. Okay, he did the most outrageous shit that I saw. Was my brother? I was visiting from Las Vegas, I think so, or maybe I was on the road with Buddy Rich, and So my brother says, boy, man, Daddy's acting real fucked up. He's doing weird shit. And I says, like what? You know, he tells me this story around Easter. A priest comes around. My brother went to Bishop Newman. A priest comes around and for the donation for Easter. Okay.
Yeah.
Now my father's sitting in a living room. Okay. He's half shot in the ass. Okay. And the priest wants to bless the house and shit. But go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So he says, you know, my father writes a check for $10. We didn't have no money. Wasn't working because he was drunk. So the priest says, thank you very much, Mr. Bruno. He says, but the customary donation at Easter is $50. Right? And my father said, with a straight face, says, oh, geez, I'm sorry, Father. Let me have the check. Got the check, ripped it up, and says, now you fucking moocher, get a fucking job and get the fuck out of my house. Okay. He told the priest, get a fucking job. What kind of job is this? You come over and go like this. You want $50? Get the fuck out of here. Okay? My brother's telling me this. And I'm going, no, he really didn't do it. He says, yeah, Jim. He says, I see that priest in school. I have to Donald Duck him. I have to duck out. I'm afraid to see the priest. I'm so embarrassed, you know. I couldn't believe it. So this is unbelievable. I was off the road. I think it had to be Buddy Rich. And so I went home. I didn't have an apartment or something. I was living in South Philly.
Right.
And I went somewhere. And I came back in the middle of the afternoon. My mother was working. She had to get a job. She was working in a hospital, drawing blood. You know, the ladies that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I come home and there's my father sitting in the living room, women, okay? And they're drunk. I mean, drunk. They're laughing and shit. Okay? Dad, what are you doing? So these are my friends, Sarah, Bessie, who knew everybody's name. He says, they're Jehovah's Witnesses. They tried to convert me. And I says, I'd be happy to listen to them, but they had to drink with me. Okay? And he got 5 ladies like way fucked up. Okay? Jehovah's Witnesses, yeah. I mean, it was something. It was like,
I'm sorry.
I mean, it was, you know, it was like just like you can't make this shit up. I got like out of a Fellini movie.
Oh my God.
Another shit.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
You would leave, you know, we had a dog that would follow my brother to school. Okay. So now my brother's got to dodge the dog and
The priest.
5 blocks away. Okay. The dog would run into the room. Whose dog is this? You know, the teacher in there. I don't know. The dog ran over to jumped on my brother's lap. I never saw this dog before. So anyway, my mother was at work. So it was in the summertime, right? And he would open we had a garage in the basement. He would open the garage door, sit back there and talk to other neighbors and drink and smoke cigarettes, right?
Okay.
And so then but the dog had free reign. The dog would just go out. One time, the dog would find other dogs. Okay. And so we're eating dinner one night. And like 10 dogs were running around my fucking house. Up and down, followed my dog, you know, Duke was his name. And my father's eating raviolis or something. And he says to my mother, is there a hole in this house? Where are all these fucking dogs coming from? There's a hole in the house.
It's a hole in the house. Well, that's where dogs come from. The hole in the house.
A hole. Yeah.
A hole.
Christ.
He had such a good sense of humor. And then here's what happens. Okay. This went on for like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
One day we can't find him. He's not in the garage. He's not at Betty's house. Some old bag. I think he was banging her. I don't know. And we went on a day. Where is he? We call the cops. You know, they call the hospitals, etc., like that. And we found him. He checked himself into Graduate Hospital to dry out. Yeah, in those days you could do that. And he was friends with some doctor. And this doctor arranged for him to, you can't do that now. They won't do it now. And to go in the hospital for something else.
Oh.
Okay. But it was really for him to stop drinking.
Okay.
So he dried himself out, in about maybe 4 weeks, never touched it again.
Never touched it again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But it ruined his health though.
Oh.
Did it?
Yeah. He was never the same. He had got coronary disease, all this other shit. He was a pretty healthy guy before that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he waited at 50 years old, he decided to go full on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Never did anything. Yeah. I mean,
right. So his system is his liver's probably okay, this is new.
Yeah.
And now it's it's like a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was, he had, my mother would start hiding the bottles, but man, he had J&B bottles all over the fucking house. There was a bottle in the basement, okay, because he would iron clothes. And he hated ironing. My mother would go, wonder why
is he ironing?
Drinking. That little shot glass there, on the ironing board. They were everywhere.
Yeah, my wife worries about me when I start doing chores. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
He's up to something.
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But
when you got the Buddy Rich gig, I mean, he must have been proud of that.
Yeah. He was, he was so bomb then, He drove me to an audition in Jersey, Gloucester, New Jersey. Okay, here's what happened. Buddy Rich, there was a TV show that came out of Philadelphia, the Mike Douglas show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Buddy Rich was a guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he asked the band, he says, Jordan, you a good guitar person, I want to add guitar. I miss having a guitar in my band, You know anybody that has like a kid that I could hire? So a guy named Vince Trombetta, the saxophone player on the show, says, yeah, that great kid, plays great. Jimmy Bruno's his name. Okay. And so he got word to my father that for me to go to the audition. Okay. And I always liked Vince Trombetta. He was like older than me, but not as old as my father. Maybe maybe 5 or 6 years older than me. Great jazz musician. And when I was a kid, I got to play with him, and if there was a question about a tune or what do you play over his chord like that? He's one of those guys,
Okay.
Yeah. And he wasn't, fucked up on some drug. Because everybody else that I learned from was fucked up on something, so there was a lot of fucking guitar players there. And we're all standing there with a cord plugged in the guitar, and he'd call you up. The road manager would point you, and you go up, and you plug into some fucking amp, and there's Buddy. You suck. Get off the fucking.
Oh God.
Fuck out of here. Where, play some fucking time. It throws sticks at you. I'm standing here like this with the guitar, and I'm going. I said to my father, I ain't doing this. Take me home.
Now, I'm not interrupting this, but I want to let everyone know who's listening to this. You were 19.
Yeah.
I just want to. I want to give that scope. Yeah. Jimmy was 19 when this happened. So continue. I'm sorry. I'm riveted.
I don't want to do this. Take me home. My father said, well, wait, you didn't get a chance. It's fucking. I'm out of here. I don't want to do it. Okay. I backed up. I'm walking out. The road manager, his name was Charlie Lake. I didn't his name to me was Whale. That's what everybody calls him.
Okay.
I did not know his real name till like 20 or 30 years afterwards. He contacts me through the internet, or maybe he saw I made a record or some shit like that. And I found out his real name is Charlie Lake. And so he stops me. Hey, kid, where the fuck are you going? I'm going home. He's waiting.
I don't need this abuse.
He says he's waiting for you. You're going to go next.
Oh, shit.
I says, well, okay. All right. So I go next. And he calls Channel 1 Suite, which is, one of the things that, one of his features. Okay. And now this is cracky. This is Channel 1 Suite. Another note. Okay. Now, that was the first one. Now that was one of the hardest charts in the book. Okay. And so he just keeps staring at me. Okay. And then he calls us another tune. Made me play a couple solos. He sat down. He says, okay, kid, the bus leaves at 7:00. Be on it. Hey, Will, get him a jacket. And he left. Okay.
Wow.
Now, here's what he doesn't know. Okay. I had, when Buddy Rich last time came to Philadelphia area, it was the Latin Casino. I went to see him, and I bought this record, an album called Mercy, Mercy, and that's on there. So I learned it. Okay. And so when he called, that's the first time I ever saw it in music. And it was written in 8/8, divided like 5/8, 3/8. No, 3/8, 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, if I had to sight read that, you would hear no guitar. Buddy thinks I get hired because Buddy thinks that I can read music real good. It's just it was luck. I just happened to know that fucking.
Well, no, I've got okay. I'll challenge that. I mean, luck. Yeah, luck that the road manager grabbed you when he did, but you had learned the record.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes to where one of the things.
Another tune, I don't know. I mean, I the other one was a blues or something. Blues is really out of tune.
But do you think that was like that's serendipitous? Like, was that just the tune he called?
Yeah.
Or were the other guitar players?
It would be something that would really fuck up a guitar player or anybody else because of the way it was written. Now he didn't read music, so he doesn't know. But I guess people would tell him, man, this chart's really hard, and that's why he called it because I mean they must have built me up to him. Oh, this kid plays great, he can read and all this other shit, violin music. So I guess he was testing me for that,
So when you were at the audition, were other guitar players given that tune, or was it? No. So he was saving that for you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he was.
Wow.
His rehearsals like that, people would bring him charts too, or he wanted to try new music,
Okay.
And that's what they were rehearsing. And so as part of the rehearsal, he was looking for a guitar player. And that's all he ever did was fucking yell at everybody in the fucking band. What kind of shit is that? Did
he ever yell? Did he ever yell at you?
Are you kidding me? I was fired 70 times in 1 year.
Wait a minute. So that's more than one time a month because there's only.
And I used to go home.
I'm sorry, more than one time a week.
Yeah, and I used to go home, and the road manager say to me, "Don't go home, Jimmy. Get back on the fucking bus. Tomorrow night he's going to be looking for you." And that's it.
Really?
Well, where's that little motherfucker? That was me. That was my name to him. Was that little motherfucker?
Little motherfucker.
Wow. Yeah. And like that, but he would have a band. He'd flip out. Almost every night, something went wrong. He'd snap out, and he says, I hear him yelling, "That little motherfucker! Well, get that little motherfucker in here." Me, I'm gonna talk to him. What is it now, buddy? Okay. How dare you play Berkeley scales on my band? I didn't go to fucking Berkeley. He says, you must have read the same books. He says, never stand up and play Berkeley scales. I didn't go there like that. He says, and I says, we had such a fucked up relationship, until it almost came to blows. Like he wanted to really beat me up.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I missed the gig, went home.
Was that because you had had enough?
It was a little bit of that, and my father was sick.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, fuck him, I'm going home. I took a train, and that really pissed him off. He sends his valet to my house. A guy named Leo was a guy that drove him around. Nice fella, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing? He says, man, Buddy wants you. I'm supposed to pick you up and take you back to the gig.
Wow.
Well, I says, he's not going to flip out, is he? And be, no. He's just very concerned about you, Okay. Go back to the gig. Might have been Boston or something like that. Okay. So he's giving an interview to a newspaper or somebody. He's sitting there and he sees me. Okay. And I could tell by the scowl on his face, he's pissed off. Okay. So I got as far away from the pub, walking along the wall of this club like this. And he's far away. The lady gets up and leaves. He picks up a fucking chair and throws it at me.
Jesus
it hits the wall. You get over here, you little motherfucker. You don't miss gigs, this shit like that. And so I got the guitar like this. It was a 175. Says, come on, you motherfucker. Come on, I'll wrap the fucking guitar around your neck.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you had asked me before, about being pushed. He would push people to that point.
To that limit.
And he just said, come here, give me a big hug. He says, you're all right, kid. You got balls. He never bothered me again.
Wow.
Never.
And how long were you with him after that? Did you stay with him for another year?
No, 1 year. This happened all within the first 3 months.
Oh wow!
I don't think I would ever get over that trauma.
At
19 years old, I would have said goodbye to the music business.
I would say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good. How are you?" That was a conversation.
Yeah.
You all right? You doing good today? Yeah. I remember Gene Krupa died. They were buddies, And I said, Gene said, buddy, I'm really sorry about Gene. He was backstage sitting in the dark. Thanks, kid. He was just a force of nature.
Yeah.
Nobody could play the drums like that. I don't think there'll ever be somebody that good.
Was that an influence on your sense of time? Because your sense of time is ridiculous.
It probably came from playing with him.
Yeah.
I know. I like to play chord solos like that,
Yeah.
People ask me, how do I learn how to do it? Listen to a big band. And that's where I got a lot of it from, was from, playing with him for a year. The band, big band. I mean, we played all styles of shit, from Count Basie style stuff to, this eighth note rock and roll groove. And,
so on a typical gig with Buddy, would the charts change from night to night?
Yeah.
And when they did, it was cold read. Was it a cold read, or were there a lot of rehearsals?
Sometimes, if it was a new chart, we did a rehearsal.
Okay.
Mostly, for both of us, because Buddy couldn't read. So sometimes we would get another drummer, a guy named Sam Woodyard, to play the drums. So he could
figure it out. Yeah.
That's interesting.
He only had to hear it one time.
Yeah.
He would play it, and he would remember it. He never fucked up. Never. One time. And some of that music was really, really complicated. Time changes, this fills off the beat shit. One time. That was his talent.
Well, you said, what didn't you re-experience that with Joey DeFrancisco?
In a different way.
But
yeah, it's just that. But Joey could remember tunes one time. Actually, my father could do that too.
Really?
Without perfect pitch, yeah. I would ask him, how do you know all these songs, and how come? And how can you do that? He says, because when I was learning in the music business, there was no real book, nothing. It was radio. So if a new tune come out, I have to wait around until it came on the radio.
It came on the radio again. Yeah.
Pick the guitar and try and remember the tune. So he played tunes like Shatter Your Smile, Girl from Ipanema, whatever. Some Barry Coma was hot at the time, and he could play all that music. Now, you know what? With Buddy, it was, I watched the guitar player over here. There's Buddy next to you. And I watched his left hand and watched his hands and feet for a year. They would blur.
Wow.
They would blur.
Yeah.
So fast, I mean, just incredible. It was like really bizarre, and he had rules. You had to, your shoes had to be shined. Okay, he didn't care if your jacket like stunk, because doing laundry on the road, you're not going to go to cleaners, Some of that shit, those band uniforms, man, they were funky, shit, man. My jacket smelled so fucking bad. My wife said to me, "Why don't you just put the jacket on the stand? The jacket could play the gig." One time, the bus driver, the bus drivers, they would change, because they get sick of driving us around. They quit the gig.
Okay.
It wasn't like a quiet place on the bus. It was like, fuck you, and who has pot, let me get high, drinking, one night we got enough beer bottle. We're throwing beer bottles around,
Yeah.
We hit the fucking front window of the bus. The bus driver, he was yelling, I'm not going to move this bus. You motherfuckers got to stay quiet. It's the middle of the night. Why aren't you fucking sleeping? That was the worst thing that he could tell. I mean, I was 19. Some of these other guys are in their 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
They're road rats. They didn't want to hear that shit. So he says, I'm stopping this bus. Go ahead, stop the fucking bus. In the middle of the night, he stopped the bus in the middle of the night, got off, walked off in a cornfield, it looked like. And guess what happened? One of the saxophone players drove the fucking bus. Just fucking
Really?
He got it. He's driving the goddamn bus. Yeah. What a bizarre. I got married on the bus. Well, not on the bus, but when I was on the band.
Well, you were in the band.
Yeah, we were supposed to get married September 7th, and but in between that whole thing, I got the gig with Buddy Rich, and now I'm going to miss my own fucking wedding. So her father, my father-in-law, my wife's father, very religious guy, Baptist. He finds a Baptist preacher. We were playing in Disneyland, okay, and he finds a Baptist church out there, and he knew the preacher, Lakeview Terrace Baptist Church. And we were in Anaheim, and we arranged it to go there and get married. So guess who came at the wedding was the band, the guys in the band,
Yeah.
Day off, that. And there's somebody has a video of it, and everybody's like high, drinking, like a pint of Fighting Cock vodka, it was called.
Fighting Cock vodka.
Yeah, it was like a gallon was like $2.75.
Yeah, at Ralph's in LA. Yeah, I know it well.
Any money, and so they give us this fucking tape, and so her father wants to see it, and we're going, wow, maybe we shouldn't show it to him, and we tried to get out. No, he insisted. Okay, so everybody's passing the joint around. Okay, so her father says to me and her, "Why is everybody sharing a cigarette?" And I said, "Well, nobody had any money. We only had one pack of cigarettes, so we were."
Oh, geez.
You got Chris Gordon.
Oh, Jesus.
Spit take.
He bought it. He
bought that.
He bought it.
Well, believe it or not, I worked with the Osmonds for a year too.
Hmm.
Donnie
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, Donnie Marie? Yeah.
Great gig.
Well, I mean, a lot of the, I mean, you were with Sinatra, right? Doc Severinsen.
Yeah, Sinatra, I never worked directly for him. I worked a couple gigs that he wanted to get. He lived in Palm Springs. So sometimes he would get these gigs in Palm Springs or in California, different places. So he would call or whoever his conductor, I don't know who really makes the phone calls, a guy named Joe Saldo in LA, who was a music contractor, who I worked for a lot in the theater. And so that's how I got to play for him 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
You know, it's scary first time. You know, he didn't come to the sound check. He came in like 5 of 8.
Right.
Dressed to the max, you know. He had in his dress room, there was a rider in his contract. He wanted, I don't know, 2, 3 bottles of what the hell's that shit? Jim Beam or no, I think it was Jim Beam or something like that. Fruit, this amount of water, all this shit. And he would leave, and a pack carton of Camel cigarettes, and he would leave it. He never took it.
Never took it.
No. So the first time, the music was easy to read because I knew I didn't really need the music. I heard these tunes, you know, Got You Under My Skin, all that. Yeah, I knew how to play those tunes, you know. But it was neat to see the music, though. You know, I was turning the pages and just to see, you know, what somebody else played, you know. And so the first time during the show, he says to me, "Hey, kid, do you know Girl from Ipanema?" This was on the stage. I mean, not on the microphone. He just came over to me, and I said,
"Okay,
yeah." I said, "Okay, me and you." And then he went in the middle of the stage and looked at me, and I guess he was waiting for me to play an introduction.
Wow.
So I played as simple as I could possibly play. Now I'm thinking to myself, he didn't ask me what key. No, I'm thinking to myself, boy, I hope this is his key because I don't want to. And all I did was this. That's it. Finally, he came in and started. Simple as I could play. Same thing. I didn't give him any of that. All that jazz. I played as simple as I can, and he liked it. You know.
But that's
like
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, man. My asshole was twitching like this.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, you know, it's taught me, you know, I was always, you know, no stage man, I'd get nervous if I had to read or, you know, I'd get real nervous, you know. And so I thought to myself, well, shit, I really got to go. I got to meet him, you know. And so I packed up my shit and I saw a room off stage, and I saw him walking around. There's food there. There's a lot of people there. So I started walking that way. Jilly Rizzo came over to me and said, "Where you going, kid?" Says, "I want to say hello to Mr. Sinatra." He says, "No, you don't." I says to him, "Well, come on, I got to meet him." "No, you don't, kid. Go over there. Go over there, pack your shit up, okay? You don't see Sinatra." He heard it. I saw him look over and he went, "He's okay, Jilly." And
really?
Yeah, he says, "The Sinatra was great." He says, fuck that." He says, "Fuck that." He says, "Look, see that tuna fish? Get a tuna fish sandwich. It's really fucking good," what he told me. And I'm trying to talk to him, and it's like he don't want to hear anything, you know.
Right.
Just, you played good, kid. You know, that was the only conversation I ever had with him. That was it. You know, but
yeah, but you were in the circle, like you had a tuna fish sandwich.
Yeah, I had a tuna fish. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that dismissively. I mean, like,
no, you know,
that's the shit, man.
I did it a couple other times. He would recognize me. How you doing, Jim? Remember my name? You know, but I'll tell you,
Cool.
living in Vegas, okay. After a while, I never got starstruck. I mean, I played for Doc Severinsen, and I mean, all these names.
Oh, Lena Horne as well.
Lena Horne, yeah. I mean,
Letting the audience know.
Yeah, and I never got starstruck. And I was living in L.A. too at the time. I met Elizabeth Taylor, Kirk Douglas at a party at Lucille Ball's house.
Oh shit!
Got a call from Frank Sinatra. I wasn't living in Las Vegas then. I was living in L.A.
Okay.
I never got starstruck except him.
Except for Sinatra.
Yes. Wow.
I can understand that.
I'm telling you, he would walk in a room and the whole room would change.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I can't speak on it, but I watch every documentary there is on Sinatra, and
him. First
yeah,
time.
I can like.
The first time you're just like, wow, and you stare at him like, and
that's a different dynamic than if you saw him on screen. Like you can see him on screen, you can see him in a documentary, or you can see him in an interview, but then to see him, I can't even imagine.
Like, he made movies, did a lot of movies. Yeah. He always was prepared, never remembered never forgot his lines. And I heard the one take. He didn't want to film the same thing over and over again. He was that good. I mean, it really has a lot of talent for that. Singing, could dance. I mean, geez, look at it,
Was that something that you took into your own world as a musician, Jimmy? Like, because one of the things I remember reading about you, especially in Vegas, right? Because that was a kind of a training ground where if you didn't have your shit together, you were done.
Right.
Like, it was like, you get it right the first time or get the fuck out.
It was like, maybe 300, 500 guitar players there trying to there's only 5 jobs for a guitar player.
Yeah.
5 steady gigs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a small community, It's like, eventually some guitar player has to take a fucking vacation. Okay. That's how you get this. You have to sub, somebody has to think that you're good enough to sub and call you, because they're not going to call all the other best guys in town because they're working. You see? So I had a friend in Philly, a guy named Joe Lano. And early on, a friend of his named Frank Leone. He was Paul Anka's conductor. He worked for a lot of people and a great musician. He was doing a lot of stuff at Caesar's Palace. My first job, you couldn't work in Las Vegas unless you lived there for 6 months. Then you get a union card.
Okay.
Okay, because I
heard about that.
That's interesting.
Transient. Okay. So this guy, Frank Leone, got me a job with a singer at Caesar's Palace Barge, which was the lounge. Okay. So because I had a job and somebody vouched for me, the union would give you a union card. And I got my union card in like a month.
Nice.
Because I had a job. That was the rule. If you had a job, you have to give you a card. So it's catch-22. How do you get a union card? You have to stay 6 months or have somebody hire you. Well, nobody's going to hire you if you don't have a union
card.
Right.
Right. And so these friends of Joe Lano. So this guy Joe Lano was working at the Dunes Hotel, a production show, very hard guitar boat. And he asked me if I would sub for him. And I says, yeah. And, he told me, don't fuck this up, okay? And the book was hard, I go to his house every day and go through the entire book, play the whole show over and over again,
Wow. Okay.
A couple things I'll never forget was the tune was called Brazil.
Right.
Everybody knows this tune. It goes. But this was in 7/4. I forget, something like that. 7/8. Something like that. And that was the hardest part in the whole thing. I practiced the shit out of that. And the first night where we did it, and it's just the guitar that does that. No band.
Right. So you're exposed.
Yeah. And so the first night that I did it, the drummer played along with me. I forgot his name. And so the conductors told the drummers, no, the second show, take a shot. He's got it. Okay. And it went well,
Mhm.
And so then I was, we get established and other people call you to sub. And, I wound up working at the Sands Hotel, or Suma Corporation owned the Sands, the Frontier, the Desert Inn.
Okay.
And the guy that had the band there was Don Vincent, who was Wayne Newton's conductor. I never met him for a long time, but I knew he had heard of me. And so anybody that came to Sands that had a guitar player, they called me. Anybody that came to the Frontier that needed a guitar, I would get the call. All through Don Vincent, who I never met until many years later.
Wow.
I knew a saxophone player that worked, a guy named Rick Fraser, that worked for Wayne Newton. That was the connection. It was always a saxophone player who helped me all the time. I remember the first gig at the Sands, right? I mean, was a pretty good reader. I could read violin music and shit like that. I never played a show in my life. Never. And the first night, Robert Goulet, I forget who the conductor was. That was another thing. There's a guy doing this shit. I didn't know. I never played for a conductor. No. And there's we do the rehearsal. And the conductor says, okay, we're going to make a cut from end of bar 27 to the beginning of bar 101. And everybody went like that. They took out their pencils, start marking the music. So I had a pencil. I had my fucking pencil, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm trying to see what the fuck are they doing. I don't know what a cut means. I have no idea. But I'm acting like I know, because guitar player is always in front of the conductor in the middle of the band. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I went over to the lead alto player, a guy named Gene Ventresca. I said, Gene, what the fuck does that mean? I said, what is that, man? What are you doing with the pencil? He started laughing. He says, come here, I'll show you. He says, that means you go from this bar to this bar. And he says, and then we make a line, And he says, but make sure that you put the chart up so you can turn a fucking page. Okay. And he showed me all this shit. Okay. It was always, I didn't know shit about playing shows. Okay. Robert Goulet's show was very, very easy. It was really nothing to play, but it was a good chance for me to learn, no exposed shit, nothing like that, It's just bizarre how all this shit, how unprepared I was for, I could play jazz, I could play tunes, I could read, but not that kind of reading. I didn't know what that, I didn't know. It says, it's in 3. I didn't know that. And conductors in 1, 2 is on this side.
Right.
Well, I didn't know any of that. Any of that shit. Okay. Some guys were really good at it, but most of them were full of shit. What the fuck they're doing all this. Okay, but there was a few. Anthony Newley had a great conductor, Jack French. I never forget him. What a character, though. Holy shit, man. I can tell you a bizarre story about him, but maybe he's still alive. It had something to do with cocaine and naked women. But he was a really excellent conductor. Anyway, so I through playing at the Sands, I get Lola Falana is coming, okay, and she needs a guitar player, so they call me, and now she wants to hire me to go on the road with her. Okay?
Oh wow! Okay.
I says okay. We're both from Philadelphia. She's actually born in Camden, but she lived in Philadelphia, Farmington. It's not far from where I live now. And so I went on the road with her for a long time. And one night she says to me, can you write charts? I need arrangements. And I said, yeah. I never wrote a chart in my life.
You're like, yeah, I can do that.
Sure. Yeah. Just like that.
Really?
And I went, now what the fuck do I do? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would be saying.
Well, I had written for, high school bands and had
Sure.
an idea, but these are, so I wrote, I don't remember what the song, it had to be you. Okay. I didn't know the song. My father wrote the chords for me. I listened to it and I wrote some shit. Okay. And I was so nervous. It's like, boys, is this orchestra? I mean, there was a full band and a string section. And I'm thinking, I wonder if this is going to make a sound, you know? And in the beginning, I see the trumpet players looking at the music and they're laughing. And I'm going, holy fuck, what this is going to sound like, So I go like this. It's like, holy shit, they've actually followed me. They played.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they're laughing. And it sounded pretty good, pretty close to what I imagined.
Huh.
And so I went over to the lead trumpet player. I said, what are you motherfuckers laughing at? Did I write? Is it that bad? Said, no, it's not that bad, but you notated it real fucked up. Well, okay, if you want the band to make this sound like that, okay. I wrote a 16th note, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of rests in it, And
Right.
The lead trumpet guy's named Rick Baptist. He's the most every movie I heard in the last 20 years, he's probably a lead trumpet player. I know him a long time.
Oh, wow. That's
so
cool.
He was laughing. He says, no, Jimmy, you just write a quarter note, you put a carrot on the top of it. Okay. Simple shit like that, And that they were laughing because it was very difficult to read with all the rest, And I learned that. And then I would ask the saxophone parts, I'm putting breath marks and shit like that. And they're laughing because they never saw shit like that before. And this guy says, no, fuck that. He says, we'll figure. We can figure out when to take a breath, okay? So, but I was lucky. I mean, these guys were really nice to me, String players were bastards, though.
Really?
Yeah, get nothing from them. Just like, look at you like that, Like I wrote this one time. I like this chord. This voice in the C major 7. So I thought, man, that would be a great chord. The chord was an A minor. Chord was an A minor 7. So the bass is going to play. So I put that would be great if the strings came in and went. And that's what I wrote. Okay, and it sounded good. And I hear viola player say to yet another viola player, because they had these notes.
Mm-hmm.
That was the violins, and this was the cello.
Right. So, okay.
As soon as they heard it, the one said the other, oh, Schoenberg, 12-tone, because they didn't like.
Yeah,
your minor second.
Yeah. So I went over to this lady and I says, I really didn't appreciate your fucking remark. What remark? I says, you said to your stand partner, Schoenberg, like it's out of tune or something. I says, what's the matter? You can't play a B and a C in tune and stay together? I know nothing about anything, okay? And it just bothered me. And it just says, oh, okay, And listen to what's the other chord right now. I'm sorry. We didn't really mean it like that, We play goose eggs all the time. They call because a lot of whole notes, goose egg charts, So I did meet a violin player that I wrote a lot of music for, a woman named Lynn Case. I wrote a whole string album for her. She taught me everything I want to know about writing for strings, notation, this and that. I was lucky, that way. But
because that's very like poignant and important, right? Like to write for the instrument.
Well, first of all, the money was great.
Yeah.
That extra money. I didn't really need it then. I was getting paid really well, but I liked to write. It was a whole new world to me, being able to do that. And then this girl turned me on to a guy named Igor Stravinsky. I never heard of him before.
Mhm.
And I heard Petrushka and the Rite of Spring. I said, holy shit, this is great. You know, I got all the scores. I wanted to see what he was doing, you know?
Yeah.
And that was my intro. I was, 21 years old. You know, I knew Mozart and Beethoven, Bach, of course. I never heard of half these other people.
Mhm.
And then I wanted to write legitimate music. I wanted to write classical music. I wanted to do that.
Wow.
Man,
Okay.
But here and there, I got to dabble in it. But that's a whole other world.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another funny string player that happened to me, and it's always the fucking viola player all the time. I don't know why.
These fucking viola players.
I don't know why. I mean, I think they feel inferior because they're not a violinist.
Could be.
It's like, what's the difference between a violin and a viola? The viola burns longer. I mean, all these viola jokes.
God damn it! I gotta stop drinking when I'm talking to Jimmy. Holy shit! Hold on.
So
you got Gordon.
Well, you know
again,
what? You're
Jimmy.
right. You're right in that because, like, the violin gets a lot of press, and so does cello. Cello gets a lot of press, but the viola, not so much.
Right. Okay. So I'm in LA. I'm with Tommy Tedesco on a session. It's a big orchestra. It's the Los Angeles Philharmonic. Michael Tilson Thomas is conducting. It's an opera singer, and he's doing Leonard Bernstein's The Mass. Okay.
Wow.
Looking at the music, and then there was some West Side Story shit in there, and I had to play some shit with the vibes or something. But by that time, I could read that shit.
Okay.
But it was a part that went like this, and it was written out. It didn't say C. And this, and this, and it was a 3-2 bar, 3 half notes, and then back to this C. Okay, so Tommy looked at the music. That was in the first part. Okay, guitar 1. Guitar 2 had a piece of music, but it said rat tacit. Rat, not didn't write anything.
That's it, right?
So Tommy says, "Here, man, this is your big chance. You can be a fucking hero." And he switched the parts. Okay, I'm getting nervous. Now, before that, there's 187 bars rest. Right? And it's slow. And there he is. And there I am, like this. And I'm waiting. And I'm going to myself. 1, 2, 2, 2.
Fuck me.
He's laughing. He's hysterical with the big belly. 53, 27. He's mixing me up.
Oh no shit!
Stop it now till we hear. This fuck. And right before it's time to come in, he says, "I'll bet you $2 you'll fuck it up." All of a sudden, the entire orchestra stops, and he turns. Michael Tilson turns to me like that. I mean, what a great cue! That I didn't have to. Here's what came out.
That's it.
I mean, it was awful. I couldn't play a C.
Oh, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
Oh
he
shit!
goes, guitars. What happened? Tedesco answered and says, "I'm sorry, my shirt got caught." Okay, we'll do it again. Okay.
No shit. So not only does he fucking set you up for a fuck job, but then he saves your.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm more nervous. Got to do it again. All right. Now I'm not counting because I know he's going to give me this big downbeat. So I'm waiting, and I hear they're like this, playing like this. And now I'm watching them play, and one of the viola players went like this, looked up to see who who was playing, because they really can't see me. But she stood up and looked down and said to her stand partner, "It's some new guy. We'll be here all fucking day." You know, and I fucked it up again.
I'm not so, you know, I just get nervous when the red light recording light comes on in the studio, but you have it much worse. That's terrifying.
So now I'm going, that's just the end of my fucking career. I'm really depressed. And all of a sudden the contract goes, okay, lunch break. Okay. So I thought, wow, okay. Nobody said anything to me. And I thought, what the fuck? So Tom says, come on, we'll go across the street, get something to eat. I says, well, I can't eat. I'm too nervous. He says, well, drink then.
Oh.
Okay. So I did. I had like 4 martinis.
Rock and roll.
Right. I didn't eat anything. I went back and I was so bombed, I didn't give a fuck. I just sat there and waited. And it was okay. I mean, I could play a C chord drunk, especially with a big downbeat like that, you know? Yeah. And it was like, it was just horrifying. I mean, and every time I got a studio gig, I was nervous all the time because I never knew what was going to happen or what I was going to have to read. You know, most of the time, some musician told me it's 99% boredom and 1% terror.
Yep.
Studio work was one of those guys told me that. You know, Tommy was so used to it. You know, they would give you the music, and I'll be looking at it, and I says, Tommy, don't you want to look at your parts? He says, no, it's more fun to see. I just want to see if I can do it. You know, he had been doing it, you know, for years. And he, you know, he also he had such a reputation. Mm-hmm. You know, he was first call for everything, and you know, he told some guy, some writer that was new to it. The guy wrote chords like but way up. Shit like that. And I heard Tom. Of course, he played it, you know. Then he says to the guy after this writer, says, where did you learn how to write for guitar? And the guy says, oh, I'm good, aren't I? He says, no. He says, did you study at fucking Pep Boys? He says, that's fucking horrible shit to play. He says, do you want it? Do you want it to come out right, or do you want it to be like that? You know? He says, that the fuck, don't ever give me a fucking piece of music like that. Learn how to write. And I thought, holy fuck. And the writer was the guy who wrote the theme song to Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, though? Because I think I was speaking from reading the columns that Tommy had posted in Guitar Player magazine. Mm. He was very candid about that a lot of the arrangers didn't know how to write for guitar.
Right. He would fix everybody's shit.
Right. Yeah, he would do it on the fly.
Yeah, real good at that. One time I had a part like this. Okay, and it was Lalo Schifrin.
What was the tempo?
It was at rubato. I had the watch.
Okay.
Yeah. Now over here, I got to look at this and this. I mean, now he's giggling.
Okay.
What are you laughing at, Tommy? He says, I would have given him this harmonic. And I said, wow. This. He says, this is easy. He says, why would you want to take a chance?
Yeah.
Right. He says, we didn't record yet. He says, the chances of you fucking hitting this note when the red light goes on are fucking none. After the first one, none. Okay. And I says, but he's going to know. He says, he ain't never going to know. You know, of course.
That, yes.
And I missed it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Guitar.
So was Tommy like a mentor in that regard?
So he had been doing it so long. He had a lot of balls to do it. Me being a new guy, I wouldn't do that, And he told me, he says, I saw him do something else one time. More highs, Tommy, was one of the turns around. Makes believe he never touched the knob. He just went like that and then went like this, played exact same thing. Is that better? Enough highs? Yeah.
What?
How the fuck
he did that all the time. He was a teacher when I was at GIT.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah. So only the sight readers got to go hang out with him. But I heard all the stories from them.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Everybody psyched out. He says 20 years. I never heard anybody say, "Hey, it sounds the same." He says they're not going to tell you that because they're going to look bad. They're never going to tell you that. So of course, I did this the next time for the next shoot. Well, the Schiffer didn't say shit. He says,
nothing, not a word. Everything was good.
He says, "Do you think he fucking knows the difference between that?" He says, "Follow Schiffer." He won't know. He's just telling you. 20 years I've been making believe I'm turning the treble knob up. I never touched it. 20 years. Yep. Now here's another fucking. This is another story. There was a guy named Gunther Schuler. You ever hear him?
Well, that first name I've heard before, but I can't say that I've.
He's like a musicologist, a writer, very a wig, very intellectual kind of guy.
Okay.
So he calls the contractor and says, "I need a banjo player, etc." Okay. So this guy calls me and says, "Can you play banjo?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "But Gunther Schuler doesn't want it tuned like a guitar. He wants a real banjo player." And I says, "Well, hold on, let me call you back." Tell Tommy the story. He says, "Tell him that, yeah." I says, "Tommy, I can't play the banjo that way." He says, "Bring two banjos." He says, "What?" He says, "Bring two banjos. Tune one like a regular banjo and the other one like a guitar." And he says, "And go up to him. Mr. Schuler, is this the tuning that you prefer?" He says, "One moment." I said, "How did Siri go?"
Here's some music from your library.
"I don't want to hear any goddamn music."
Oh, okay. That's you. I was wondering where that was coming from. Okay.
So I says, "Really, Tommy? He's gonna fall for that?" Says, "Yeah, guaranteed." He says, if you do it, and he catches you, I'll give you $1,000.
Wow.
I says, "Okay." So I says, "Well, Tommy, I don't have two banjos." He says, come over my house. I'll give you a banjo." And he says, "And I'll tune it for you so you don't fuck that up." Okay. Tune the banjo. Okay. So I'm really nervous. I mean, I didn't think, the guy wrote books. It's like I'm going to try and jerk. I'm going to talk to Einstein about physics and tell him try and bullshit Einstein. What the music that he wrote? It was Dixieland kind of music with weird instrumentation. Okay. Now he's a classical guy, so he knows.
Sorry, there was a problem with Apple Music.
Yeah, but blow me. I'm howling at a computer. Okay. All right. So
Jesus Christ, I want to have to pee again.
So
keep going. This is killing me.
So he notated the music the way I used to notate it. Okay. Very different. So the band sounds like shit. Okay. I mean, they did the run through and it's terrible. Nobody can sight read it. Okay. Now, my part, this guy wrote, this one, if you play a banjo, these kind of things, he wrote that out.
Wow.
He voiced
every note.
Every note. And like 30-second notes. And there's no chord symbols. I'm looking at him going, whoa, fuck this. So I figured out while he's yelling at the orchestra, the rest of the band, because it sounds like, really bad. They cannot sight read this shit because he notated it wrong. While he's yelling at them, the contractor, they're all hollering. I'm going, F, I'm figuring out what the chord is.
Right.
Okay, so my part's good. He's yelling, and it really did sound bad. Okay, yeah. Do another take. Terrible, a little better. And he says, "I'm done with this." Tells the contractor, says, "I came to LA because these are professional musicians. They're supposed to be able to sight read anything. I'm very disappointed. The only person that can read fucking music in this orchestra is the goddamn banjo player."
Oh,
Fuck,
my.
I was a hero, you know? And, you know, I told the contractor what I did. He says, "Oh, man, you've been hanging around Tommy Tedesco too much, you know?" So he comes back. I get, once again, another call from the same guy. And he says to me, "It's Gunther Schuler again. He actually asked for you." I said, "Okay."
Really?
Yeah. And it was some film that he wrote. And he was a banjo part in it. And he didn't just ask about the tenor tuning or any of that. He says, "Get me that same banjo player that read really good, you know?" And he never knew I played guitar. Never. You know, there was another guy never knew I was a guitar player for a long time. Was Lalo Schifrin. He thought I was a mandolin player.
Really?
Yeah, it was the first time I worked for him. I was playing mandolin, tuned like a guitar.
Did you tune it like a guitar in fourths?
Yeah, D, G.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Everything was.
But I never thought of doing that.
Yeah, you know, everybody did that then. You know, you know, it was an interesting. I mean, it's funny now to me, but you know, I think back then that wasn't fun. That was like ulcer shit. You know?
Yeah,
I mean,
but wasn't like, I mean, but that was your paycheck, right?
yeah, I mean,
Because is it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you and Tommy were working together, Tommy, demystify this for me. Did Tommy say, "Don't go out and do jazz, man, because it'll fuck up your"?
Well, yeah, he says nobody will hire you because they think that you can't read. He says, when you get established, do what you want.
But weren't you hanging out? Like, wasn't Tommy like having dinner? And you got to play with Frank Zappa.
Yeah,
right?
He was a frustrated jazz guitar player. You know, he'd play, but you know, but see, that was okay because I was with Tommy Tedesco. You see what I mean? And you know, I never did like studio work, you know, day after day like him.
Okay.
You know, I never got that far into it. You know, LA was funny. You know, one day you're playing for Lalo Schifrin, the next day you're playing for a wedding. You know,
Wow.
That's the way it was for me. You know,
but did you stay away from the jazz gigs? Did you follow his advice?
I didn't really have to because there wasn't that much happening.
You know, and I was going to ask about that. Like,
it was the Baked Potato was around. Yeah. Okay, that was they were into like Larry Carlton type bands and Abraham Laboriel, that fusiony kind of shit. Claire Fisher, you know.
Which is kind of, do you think that's a West Coast thing? Because when I think of the East Coast, and I don't mean to separate things,
right?
But when I think of, like, one of the things I have always wanted to ask you about is I've always felt that Philadelphia was underrepresented for what it offered as far as jazz is concerned.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's what the reality of it is. A lot of guys from Philly moved to New York.
Okay.
You know, to be in the look at Pat Martino.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a lot of other people moved to Las Vegas. Was a hot spot for a minute, but guys that wanted to play jazz, they would go to LA sometimes. I mean, there was a studio scene there. I mean, Joe Pass lived there. He tried to play studio work. Barney Kessel did it. You know, Joe Pass told me, he says, when they came around with a fucking wah-wah paddle, that was the end for me. Okay. It was weird, but there is a difference in the time feel between West Coast and East Coast.
So when you
difference,
you were out, go ahead. I'm sorry.
East Coast bass players, right? Or I'm not saying East Coast, Philadelphia, New York. There's a hump in the beat.
Yeah.
Not on the West Coast. It's different. It's more laid back.
Yeah, it's more sunstroked.
And I think it's because of the lifestyle. I mean, it's beautiful out there. I mean, the weather. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
you know, it's you get used to the whole scene out there, and you know, it changes your playing a little. For me, it did a little bit.
Did it?
Yeah, I mean, I the only jazz I played in LA was with Tommy. You know, but he had that East Coast drive, though. You know, he really did. Plus, I mean, his sense of humor was bizarre. I mean, the shit that he did was, you know, another one. Michel Legrand. I mean, I got to work for these guys or be in the same room with them. I mean, Michel Legrand, come on, that's all the songs he wrote, the movie scores that he did. Henry Mancini, give me a break, you know? So, but and there's Michel Legrand, two keyboard classical guitar section, okay? Now here's what they did. You would hire two guitar players if you wrote it, and one guy would play some part of the chord, and the other guy would play the bottom part. Otherwise, if you give it to a classical guitar player, it's going to take weeks. He's got to learn the fingerings, you know. Well, that's shit what they do. So, and we're in front of the orchestra. Michel Legrand is over there, like where that light is for me, okay? And we play this shit. I got a pick and stuff. And the orchestra says, the orchestra, hey, viola, nice, but don't, you know, not too much swell. He's giving them instructions. He says, and guitars, he says, you think it sounds beautiful with the accents. He says, you think you could play with the fingers? I don't like the sound of the pick. Tommy says, sure. And I looked at him, I says, I can't do that. He says, do what I do. I says, what? He says, put the pick over here. Go like this. You're going to play. When he looks up at the screen to see to time the streamer, pick it up and play it with the pick. Now, no time to argue. Okay, he starts. Ready? Okay. I did exactly what he did. He looked at the streamer to play it with a pick. Okay, and here's what Tommy does. Michelle, is that better? Oh, Tommy, so much better. I look at him and says, how the fuck can you do this? He says, they don't know. He says, you think he's going to fuck it? Maybe, let's say in his mind, it sounds the same. He's not going to fucking say that. It sounds the same. He says, see that guy in the booth? Yeah, he says, that's the guy that's up his ass. He's paying for it.
Right. He
says, he ain't going to stop and say it sounds the same and do the whole fucking thing over. That guy's paying $3,000 a minute. He had it all psyched out. You know, he really did.
Yeah, so he understood the psychology of the studio, which is a psychology.
And also, man, he could read anything. I mean, really anything. You know, that's no bullshit there. Yeah. I mean, I saw him. You know, oh God, here's a great Tommy Tedesco story. We're going to make a record with 3 guitars: me, Tommy Tedesco, and John Koenig. Okay. And we're writing tunes. I wrote a tune. Tommy did some Tommy tunes. And one day, we're at Tommy's house for going to rehearse, and then we're going to eat. And Frank Zappa's there. Okay. I don't know why. There was a period where he would come around. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so Tommy liked to fry Italian hot sausage on the stove, you know. And we're sitting around and put it in making sausage sandwiches, right? And there's Frank Zappa. And he says, boy, what were you guys playing in there? You know? And he's frying the sausage. And Tommy's in his underwear, too. Okay. Never put the money out. Okay. There's a 300-pound guy with a big belly in his underwear frying fucking sausage. And there's fucking Frank Zappa. He says, what were you guys playing in there? Oh, we're going to write a 3-guitar record, you know, with original tunes. He says, hey, can I write one for you guys? Tommy says, sure. Yeah. He says, when are you going to rehearse again? Next Tuesday, same time, 11 o'clock. He says, yeah, come by. All right. He comes by with this fucking music that's so fucking hard. Okay. And it sounded really bad. But me, I couldn't read it. You know, tried. And I don't know. It sounded really bad. And so we played it. And Tommy says, geez, this sounds like shit, Frank. And Frank says, well, you're really not playing it right. He says, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to take this home and learn it. And you come back next week. Okay. All right. So I did learn it, So I asked Tommy, I says, Tommy, did you really, study it? He says, to tell you the truth, I had to, and he should. Just part I didn't, I says, so he says to me, how long did you spend on it? And I says, a day. John Koenig, how long? A couple of days. Tommy, how much did you spend on it? About 8 minutes, he said. So now we play it again. Frank Zappa's not there yet. And we finished the whole thing, and Tommy goes, wow, it still sounds like shit, doesn't it? I don't know, it sounds bad. I mean, he was really busy, boo, boo, boo. It sounded like bees and shit.
Right.
And I says, what are you going to tell him? He says, tell him it sounds like shit. So he comes over, same thing, and we play it, and he doesn't say anything. Frank Zappa says, yeah, that's more like it. Okay, now it's time to eat again. It's time to eat sausage. He says, so Tommy, tell me the truth. What do you think? How's that piece? You going to record it? He says, well, Frank, to tell you the truth, after we learned it, he said, I spent a day studying that fucking part you gave me. He says, guess what, Frank? While he's frying, still sounds like shit.
Oh my gosh. Oh, man.
But Frank did, there was it like a restaurant or a club?
Yeah, he used to come. I used to play with a place called, it was in Sylmar.
Sylmar, yeah. And he came
Pasta Michi was the name of the restaurant.
And he came in and sat in with you. What was the tune he played with you?
Lover Man.
Yeah. And I remember you complimenting him on that. Like that he purported himself quite well.
He did. He played it good. He played it good. Playing that wasn't his thing. He was he wanted to really be an artist to, he really liked classical music, far out music. He was an experimenter,
Would you have considered him, would you have put him, should I say, among modern composers?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Yes, that was his, at one time, I don't know if this is true. There was a story going around. He wrote a piece of music and hired the Los Angeles Philharmonic and recorded it. He had a big recording studio in his house.
Yeah.
And it was very modern kind of music, but he had that kind of money. He made a lot of money.
Yeah.
He was like almost a cult following, he made a shit.
Oh yeah. He had his own world. Right.
Yeah. And the other thing was that he never took dope. He was so straight,
Yeah.
I asked him about it. He says, man, I don't even take aspirins. I says, well, what is that? Why? He says, oh, that's how I make money. He says, it's a mystique, He says, people want to think that I'm far out because I take acid. Let them think it. Don't buy a record.
You don't have to take acid to listen to a Frank.
Yeah, I mean,
that is the acid.
He was really a fucking far out guy, and really a fucked up Jimmy Bruno story. This is unbelievable. Okay. There was a guy that used to come to Chris's and see me play. He was a teacher at St. Joe's University. Okay. He taught in the honors program. So it's the smartest kids in the school. I think he taught English or something. He was British. Okay. So he hires me to do the roots of modern jazz. He says to me, can you come up with something and, come to the university and I'll pay you really good money. Maybe you talk for an hour and a half, whatever you want to do. He says, I'll give you cash, and bring the bass player with you. Okay. So I came up with this idea, the roots of modern jazz. And I looked up Bach. Okay. Found all about Bach. So I looked at some of the fugues, etc., that he wrote. And here was what I was going to do. Okay. This tune, All the Things You Are. and I found some fugues that had similar chord changes. Okay, so that was the thing. Now I found out in Bach's time there was another guy that wrote fugues too in another town. His name was Buxtehude. Okay, now here was the difference between the two. Bach said that the harmony is the result of the lines. In other words, he didn't have any chord changes. He didn't have any harmony in his mind when he would write a fugue. He'd start with a line, write the counterpoint, whatever chord changes they made, that was it. That was the music. Okay. The other guy, Buxtehude, okay, there was like a feud. He would write the harmony first and then write the counterpoint. Okay. And that was they just go back and forth, you know. It's kind of like guitar players in South Philly. It's the same kind of fucking arguments. So I really looked up this shit up. I looked up Buxtehude shit. Okay. Now it was on Thursday morning. Okay. We played Chris's every Wednesday night. So one night on Wednesday night was like a night for me and the bass player to hang out. Okay. A little bit of nose candy, go back to my house and drink. Okay. So we're at my house. I was living in Philadelphia, and Craig goes, "Hey man, I gotta go." I says, "Why, man? Can't you hang?" He says, "Man, Jimmy, we got that thing tomorrow." I says, "What thing?" "St. Joe's." I says, "No, it's fucking next Thursday." He says, "I'm telling you, it's fucking tomorrow."
Oh, no.
Okay. And he says, "Yeah, maybe you're right. Fuck it. Give me another drink." Okay. So around 6 a.m., I think it's tomorrow. He starts again. So I looked in my book and I says, "Holy fuck, you're right." Okay. 6 o'clock in the morning. We had to be there at 9. Okay. So I didn't go to sleep. Okay. Craig went home, got changed, came back and picked me up. I didn't have a car then. So I'm drinking water to try and sober up. That's the worst thing you can do, because if you drink water, you get drunk all over again.
Yeah, because it's going through your liver. You're pushing it through your liver again.
So get in the car. We're late. Okay, we're there. And I'm looking I left all my notes and I left all my shit at home. Okay, here I am. We're in a big room and they have these paintings of priests like this big. Greg finds it funny and he makes believe he's confessing to the priest. Okay. He's kneeling down and he's going, "Bless me, Father. I'm sorry about the night that I had sex with the goat." Like shit like that, he's saying. Okay. And we're waiting for these people to come in. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what the fuck was that guy's name? And what was the dates? And I can't think right. Okay. And Craig gets the chalk and there's a big blackboard. He writes the word "cunt" on it. Huge.
Whoa! Really?
Hey, Craig, stop! What the fuck? So he erased it, okay. But you know, when you erase shit, I still could see.
Yeah, you can still see it.
So okay, now the students are coming in. Musicologists, this shit, okay. And they turn down the lights a little bit. Now I can see on the left side of my eye the word "cunt." So it's clear as day, okay. So I start, okay, and I'm saying, "So Craig, was that 1897?" He goes, "Yeah." And then under his breath, going, "Bullshit, bullshit. Craig, shut up. There's kids are taking fucking notes." Okay.
Oh my God.
And I'm bringing up the story about Buxtehude. Okay. And I said, "There was this other counterpoint guy, other organ player in this other town in Hamburg." Craig goes, "Bullshit." Okay. And his name was Fatstehuden. Craig stuck, "Bullshit." Fucked up the guy's name. Okay. It was fucking horrible. Okay. It was the longest hour and a half of my fucking life. Hey, come on. Let's go get something to eat. Now we can't eat because we're too fucked up. Okay. So I'm driving home. I says, "Man, they're never fucking going to hire me again. When they go look up that bullshit that I spouted off, I bullshitted my ass off for an hour and a half, got dates wrong, interval. That was all total fucking horseshit." Okay. Don't you think? A couple months go by, he comes back in the Chris says, Jimmy, they're still talking about that wonderful talk you did. Would you like to come back? Fuck. I mean, it was total crap bullshit, And they fucking hired me again, but I made sure I didn't, do that.
Oh, so you turned it down the second time. You're like, yeah,
no,
I'm good.
No, I did it the second time, but I didn't get fucked up. Shit. That was a bad time for me,
Yeah.
Well, booze and blow. That's a combination.
Bad news. Let me tell you something. When I was 48 years old, okay, I was doing a lot of fucking traveling. I was coming back from Wales, okay, and I'm in the airport, and I have a light guitar, something like this. Didn't weigh much, okay.
Right.
There was a hill in the airport, gonna walk up the thing. All of a sudden, man, I had to sit down. I couldn't fucking breathe, So I sat down. I called my wife. She's a cardiac nurse. And I says, geez, I think I had a heart attack. She says, nah, you didn't have a heart attack. I told her story. Okay. She says, well, I'll pick you up at the airport and I'll make an appointment for you. She says, appointment for who? She says, well, we're going to go see a cardiologist. Talk to another doctor that I know. Okay. And the doctor says, well, we don't know. You got to come, got to see him. All right. So I get on the flight and I'm first thing I do, I'm drinking because I'm scared and I think that I had a heart attack and in my mind, it's like I'm going to die in the fucking when the airplane. I'm going to have a massive heart attack and we're, 30,000 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Anyway, I make it. She picks me up. We go right to the cardiologist near me.
Okay? Straight there from the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, I feel fine now. She says, no, you got to go. Guy's last name, Smith was his last name. I forgot his first name. I didn't like the bastard. Hey, Mr. Bruno, you put the hospital gown on. He says, we're going to do a stress test, okay? I said, okay. I lasted 30 seconds. He says, okay, get dressed. Come into my office. I called an ambulance. I said,
oh, Jesus
what?
Christ.
I says, I feel fine. He says, you lasted 30 seconds and I saw your EKG and it's not really good.
Yeah.
Says, there's some blockage there. He says, I can't tell you where. You got to go to the emergency room. Scared the shit out of me. So I go to Einstein Hospital. Next thing I know is, there's like they take your blood, a stool sample, all this kind of shit. And I'm going, what the fuck is going on? It says, well, there's blockage there. You're going to the cat lab. Going to put a wire in your there and going to see. There's a name. I forget what the fuck it's called.
I forget, but my dad had to go through it.
So they're telling me that, we'll go in there and look. I said, if we can fix it with a stent, we'll do that. But if we can't, we'll do open heart surgery. Okay.
Wow.
Fuck, that's the last thing I want. Okay. So I'm on that fucking table. I'm rattling like this. Okay. It's cold in there. I'm like fucking shaking like a motherfucker. And the guy that puts the stent in, I knew him from my wife. And he says, Jimmy, do you remember me? And he took the mask down. Yeah. He says, Jimmy, you don't have to answer me this question. He says, but were you doing a lot of cocaine? And I says, no. Okay, Jimmy says, well, I said, so I want to see what you're going to put in my chest. And he shows me the stent. It's all wrapped up in the thing. And then he says, see, Jimmy, you put a straw in your nose. Now I'm going to put a straw in your chest. He knew. He fucking knew.
You knew. Yeah.
And for me, they were able to fix it, And then he showed me.
And when was this?
I was 48 years old.
Okay.
69. It's 21 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
And
wow, man, you were hitting it hard.
So he showed me the film, It was lower anterior descending, so in the back of the heart. It's called the widowmaker because if you have a heart attack, you're dead. It was 99% blocked.
Fuck.
Says you were a walking time bomb.
Oh my gosh.
And you could see it, the thing like that. And then of course they do another one. I can't remember the fucking test. I had it done so many times. And you at first you can't even see the stent anymore. It becomes part of the artery.
Yeah.
The artery grows over it, you know?
Yeah, it integrates. Yeah.
So far, I'm playing with fire here, you know?
We all are.
So far, so good, you know? And it's like, I'll tell you, so I did, that was the end of the cocaine phase of my life. You know, 4 years ago, I had a traumatic brain injury. I was in a coma for 16 weeks.
I was going to ask you about this. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to go there.
Yeah.
But and I remember I was fucking terrified. You were in a coma.
Yeah. Yeah. And at first it was a real coma from a fall. And then as I started to get better, and then it was an induced coma because every organ in my body failed.
So can we back up for a minute here? Here's
what happened. I was sitting in this. I'm in the basement. There's two rooms there. There's a studio and there's another room where the TV is.
Okay.
I was sitting there. I was drinking some scotch. Okay. And I had a joint. I took 2 puffs of the joint. Okay. I wasn't buying a fifth of scotch. I was buying a pint. And it would make 2 good drinks on the rocks. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And I had some mild pot from a guy. And that was my thing. It was like I wasn't getting real fucked up, just a little fucked up.
Yeah, just kind of getting the buzz,
right.
Yeah,
and that was my groove for a while, you know.
Okay,
it was okay. My wife was happy with that because I wasn't falling down. Anyway, around that time too, I have high blood pressure. Okay, and around that time, they give you blood pressure medicine. It's a trial and error thing. I mean, the doctor takes an educated guess, but too much, you pass out. If the medicine's too strong, like when you get up, you could get dizzy. Okay?
Right.
And that's what was happening.
Okay.
But they find the right medicine. Okay, all that good. We'll give just a little background shit. So what I remember was I was sitting there. I took 1 sip of scotch. I took 1 puff of the thing. And I'm trying to find the remote. Okay. And the remote was under the TV. And the last thing I remember was I stood up. That's what I remember. I woke up in a rehab place 16 weeks later.
16 weeks
later. Yeah. That's the last thing I remember. Okay. So what had happened was I fell and hit my head. My wife's telling me all this, she heard a fall. She came down. She saw blood coming out of my ears.
Jesus Christ.
Okay? And I was seizing like an epileptic seizure. Go to the ambulance. I have another seizure. Okay. So I was in the hospital in the ICU and I'm on a ventilator. Okay. And so now the insurance company is tired of paying for this. Basically, I mean, they come up with other reasons, but that was it. In other words, they told my wife, you're running out of insurance. And she has the hospital. It's the insurance. She's a nurse. She's the best policy possible. And it's free.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
And for me, to add me, it costs $5 a paycheck. But they didn't like that. So anyway, that's part of the story. That's, I'm sure the truth is in the middle. So anyway, there's a rehabilitation place that's down the street from the hospital. It's called Garden Springs. Now, their specialty is getting people off a ventilator. Okay. My best friend is a pulmonologist, a doctor. Okay. My other good friend, my best friend, is a gastroenterologist. Okay. And so during this whole time that this is happening in the hospital, they're coming every day, and they're helping my wife make medical decisions. One guy wanted to drill holes in my head to relieve the pressure, because the blood. And then they had a meeting with There's a name for this guy. I mean, it's his job. It's like, do you want to pull the plug or not? That guy. There's a name. Yeah, there's a name for that.
I mean, but you were at that. Are you telling me that you were at that stage?
This is what my wife's telling me.
Holy
and she
shit.
said, Howard Klein, the doctor said, told me and told this other doctor, said, you know, I have patients worse than him, and they make it. Something to the work that effect. Okay. So they didn't pull the plug. Okay. So now they got to get me. Oh, and I also had the last rites. I call the priest. You know.
So wow, it was that serious.
Yeah, I says, now why did you do that? She says, I did it because your mother would have wanted me to do it. And I says, you know what? If I would have woke up and saw a fucking priest there give me the last rites, I would have died. You know? Anyway.
Oh my God.
So Jesus. I wake up in a rehabilitation place. They do get me off the ventilator rather quickly, okay? But now I can talk because I have a trach. Look, you can still see the marks are still there. Okay.
Oh, really? Hold on. I can do this. I think I can do this.
You want to see it?
I'm going to do a solo makeout of Jimmy Bruno's trach.
Right there. And the ventilator was sewed over here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
And I had what's called a peg tube. Okay. And I laughed because my wife's name is Peggy. I said, so we named a tube after it's called a peg tube. So they feed you. I have a big hole in my mark there too. Okay. So now I wake up. Now I can't fucking talk. Okay. And I went like that. Okay. So I'm trying to ask somebody, you know, what's going on? Why can't I talk? Etc. And I can't get anybody's fucking attention. Okay. I'm really pissed the fuck off. Okay. So I go to another patient's room. I saw another fucking guy. Okay. And he had a thing over there. And I'm telling him, going like this, I can't talk. And he says to me, what's your name? Jimmy. Jimmy, here's what you do. Cover the hole with your finger and you could talk. And I tried it and I could talk. Now
oh my God.
And I said, you didn't tell me this, you know? Mr. Bruno, watch your language. Give me that fucking thing that he's got.
You didn't leave me a memo.
I said, and I want it now. I want to be able to talk. You know? I said, that thing. I want a cancer kazoo.
Cancer kazoo. Holy shit.
Right. So, all right. And it is a fucking thing. They stick it down your throat. It sounds terrible. And it's a sterile way to, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's an open wound. You'll be jamming your finger in, you know. Yeah. So you just cover it and you can talk, you know. And then I was getting things confused. There was people that were taking care of me that looked like somebody I knew. And I swore that they were that person.
Right.
And I gave them that name. Okay.
Yeah.
And they would just humor me and play along. You know? Yeah, I'm Ed. There was a guy named Ed worked at the gun range. And this guy, Ed, that's taking care of me was obviously gay. And I says, when did you turn gay, Ed? He says, oh, I've been gay for a long time. I said, what happened to all the tattoos? I had them removed. So he's playing along, you know? He just really looked a lot, just a little bit like.
So do you have any memories of being under? Like remind me again, how many weeks were you in that coma?
16.
16 weeks.
Well, yeah, let's say maybe 8 weeks was a coma in the hospital. I was on a ventilator in an induced coma for a while at the rehab place. I don't know how long that was. It wasn't 8 weeks because I do remember.
But you have no recollection of being under in that state.
A little bit. I remember, and I don't know whether this is. I remember I heard a voice that said, "Go back."
Wow.
Really?
Go back. There's more for you to do.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it could have been a dream. It could have been real. Because the dreams I was like delusional. Okay.
Yeah.
I swore that there was gorillas on top of my bed. This is funny. Was a sprinkler system. Okay, it had a glass thing over it. And I told my wife there's gorillas in there and they're fighting.
Really?
Okay, she's saying, where? In there. And she's going, no, I wish she was here. No, Jimmy, there's no fucking gorillas in there. And I stood up on the bed. I says, look, I'm gonna let them out. And I started I'm gonna let the gorillas out. I swore there was gorillas there. Okay.
Yeah.
Fucking doctor that ran the place, I thought he was a guitar player that I met in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, I called him that name. I says, when did you become a doctor? You were a guitar player. What happened? Okay.
Wow, that's
everything mixed up, everything wrong.
Yeah.
Everything mixed up. And then I said, my wife comes to visit me, and I says, hey, where's my fucking horse? She says, what horse? You remember I bought the horse? I tied him up under the deck, and he had a little cart behind him. He said, we never had a horse. Said, I'm telling you. How do you think I got here? I drove the horse here, the thing. He said, we never had a horse. And I says, where's the fucking horse? I'm getting bugged. She says, what's the horse's name? And she says, I told her the horse's name is Jitbag. Now I'm on to the staff, the nursing staff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my horse? What horse? My horse, Jitbag. I rode him here. Where is he? Well, where did you park? Nurse goes to me, where did you park, Jitbag? I says, in the parking lot that's under the facility here. She says, well, we do have a parking lot down there. And I'll take you down there and I'll show you that there's no horse. I want to see Jitbag. Okay.
Oh my God.
They fucking wheeled me down there. Okay.
Really?
Every day. Day.
Looking for Jitbag.
Looking for Jitbag. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and
that's a dedicated staff.
They were used to this, you know.
Yeah.
I called the cops one night when they took my cell phone away. I called the police one night and I says, I'm being held against my will. Where are you? I'm at Garden Springs Nursing Home. They won't let me out. Don't you think the fucking cops came? Okay. And I wasn't the first patient to do that. So I called them.
Okay.
I called them 2 or 3 times more. And that's when I took the phone away because they didn't come. But the first time they came.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you know, 5 cops come.
Mm-hmm.
They're walking around scaring the shit out of everybody, you know.
Holy shit.
So, anyway, so gradually getting better and better. And now I'm starting to tell people I'm sorry, you know. Now they're telling me stories of what I did. If I wasn't in my room, they would get nervous, the staff. Because
can't say I blame them.
I would tell them that I'm getting out. I know a way out of here because you're locked in.
Mm.
You know, somebody comes to see you. There's a security thing there, and I says, "Yeah, I've been out. I go out. I went to Best Buy across the street, and I went to that 7-Eleven. I bought some cigarettes. It's impossible for you to get out. Okay, show us how you got out." And I did. There's 2 doors. Okay, the first door, and when it closes slow. The second door opens, and you can, if you run this door, you can make it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, well, how are you getting out? And I said, well, I stay here and I wait for a visitor to come in and I run and I get out. Now they believe me because it is possible. Okay. Right. Well, I think they believe, sort of like, you know, believe me. So now I found out that if I'm not in the bed, they go nuts.
Mm.
I mean, I'm feeling fine now. I found a way to throw myself out of the bed and hide under the bed. And I see them come by. I can hear them come by, and they're looking. I'm not there. Then they send the nurses out, and they're going into every room. They're looking for me, okay? Mm. And then I tell them this, and I'm laughing, okay? And so what they did was they would put me in a wheelchair. Okay. And that was a whole other thing too. I had to learn how to ride the wheelchair. I mean, that wasn't easy in the beginning. I mean, yeah, there's more to it than just doing this. You know, you got to turn. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. You gotta get your
hold one wheel. You know, I got good at it though.
Yeah.
So now I still can't walk. But so they would wheel me into the office, not the office, like the nursing station. Okay, and put the door in front. Had a way to get in and out. I can't get out. Okay, so but they knew where I was, and it was at night. You know,
right?
Because I couldn't sleep, and then I would say, I want to take a ride up the hallway. You know, and they said okay, because they would let me do that because I can't go anywhere. I'm in a wheelchair, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's also good for you to do that too. You come out of this, and what I realized, what I saw was that you
came home in a wheelchair.
Well, you started posting.
Yes,
and I found this kind of a catharsis for you.
That was my first YouTube video. Was me? I was in the hospital.
Mm.
Yeah, neurologist gave me an idea because I told him I quit. I don't want to play music anymore. And he says, "You can't know that." So what do you mean I can't fucking know that? He says, "Why don't you make something up?" He says, "Talk about it." He says, "Man, when you'll see if you want to play again." He knew who I was. He's a Jimmy Bruno fan,
Mm-hmm.
and he started me on that. But I got to tell you, this before they release you, okay, you have to see every fucking doctor that fucking took care of you. Okay. I mean, people that don't even work there. I mean, every fucking one. Everybody has to sign off. And this is because lawsuits.
Right.
Okay. People that came to see me, I have no recollection. Who are you? He says, "Well, I'm the guy when they called when your kidney failed." And who are you? I'm the guy that was almost set you up with dialysis. Who are you? I'm the neurologist. There was like 5 of those fuckers. I mean, who's the motherfucker? I'm going to drill holes in my head. It's just me. So I mean, they were all happy that I was better.
Yeah.
But I still couldn't walk. Couldn't walk. It's from being inactive for 16 weeks. Your muscles.
Atrophy.
I couldn't play a C chord. I had no strength. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the best one. The last person that I have to see is a psychiatrist, an MD. Okay. And there was one nurse that I liked, and there was 2 ladies that were kind of ran the place, and they were real nice. And one was really nice because I mean, I had no filter. I didn't have no filter now. I was worse then because it was like
Jimmy.
So this one lady says, "Now listen, Jimmy, they got my sense of humor though. They did, and this is Jimmy. Now, the doctor so-and-so is going to come. He says, whatever you do, don't fuck around with her. He says, what does that mean? He says, the way you talk to us and shit, don't fuck with this lady. I says, well, why not? She says, because she has the most power here. She says, she has to sign off. If she doesn't sign off, she could put you in a fucking loony bin. Don't fuck with her.
Yeah.
All right. This very attractive Asian woman comes in with an iPad. Okay. And she's serious as a motherfucker. She's got like old lady glasses on, never smiled. She's asking me questions. And I'm going, so what's this about? She says, we're getting to that and we're never getting to it,
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, okay. She says, do you have any uncontrollable or sudden urges? She says, what's that mean? She says, I don't know. An urge to like hit me or hit somebody. And I said, no. Do you have any urges to the staff? Do you want to hit them? You want to hurt them, stab them? No. Now I'm thinking to myself, I want to stab you. Okay. And so she says, well, now, how about other kind of urges that are uncontrollable? Oh, and she reads to me, I see that you got here because you fell down a flight of steps, is what she says. I didn't correct her. I said, yeah, that's right. And I figured, whatever she says, I'm going to agree with her. I want to get the fuck out of here. And she says, well, look, you have well, I do have some urges. I don't really want to hurt other people, but I do want to hurt myself.
Uh-oh.
And she says, like what? I says, well, Doc, I see a flight of steps. I really want to throw myself down the fucking steps. Interesting. She types. Okay. And she says, well, what else? I says, well, how tall is this building? How many stories? She says,
oh no, Jimmy.
It's 3 stories. I said, you're on the 2nd floor. And I said, you see that highway out there? She says, yeah. I says, that's 611. She says, yeah, I know. And I says, well, if the building was higher, I have this uncontrollable urge to throw myself through the fucking plate glass window and land on 611 and have a truck run over my fucking head. Okay? And she writes it down and then goes, you're putting me on, aren't you? And I went, duh, you jerk off. Of course I am, you fucking asshole. I'm really pissed. And she said, you're fucking fine, is what she said. Man. Yeah. She read all this shit that I did. She says, do you remember when you threw the plate at the dietitian? I says, yeah, because I do. I remember the lady, the food was so bad. I said to the lady, would you eat this fucking shit? And she came over and looked. It's a well-balanced meal. And I threw it at her. I was the patient from hell.
Wow.
Anyway, so it goes on. I come home in a wheelchair. Now I have to have 2 people come over 3 times a week, a physical therapist and a nurse, which made no fucking sense because my wife's a nurse. Okay. But anyway, got to play along with it. And this little Russian woman, shorter than me, her name was Zora. She's had a German accent. You will walk, Jimmy. I make you walk. She was a mean little motherfucker, boy. Got me out of that fucking wheelchair and then on a walker. Had a walker for a while and then off the walker,
Yeah.
And I had to go down and get my license because if you have a seizure, you have to turn your driver's license in. Right. If you don't turn it in, the state police come to your fucking house and take it. And then it's even harder to get it back. So you have to follow. So it's easy. Just put one in the mailbox. It goes back to the DMV. You don't need an envelope. Just throw it in there. Anyway, so this woman, really got me to walk again. This is 4 years ago. I didn't play at first at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you started posting, and it was kind of a daily thing. And
every day.
Yeah, and I found it cathartic. Like, was that something that you chose to do, or was that something
a doctor gave me the idea to do it, and then I liked it because I found out that the more I insulted people, the more I liked it. I mean,
you're so fucking good at it, man.
If you look at the early ones, it was like, man, I was out of my fucking gourd, man.
I told you this on the phone when I was driving to Florida. I had those early episodes on repeat.
Everybody was telling me.
Hey, you know what a real book is good for? You got a table with a leg that's shorter.
Yeah,
that's what that fucking book is good for.
Yeah, piece of shit. That piece of shit. And do you see these weathermen? What they fucking do? Flunk out of Tobu school? Come on. I hated them. Inaccurate, rather. I hated them. I hated the fucking weather guys. Chris Dimitri, right? The guy that owned Chris's one time. There was a weatherman. They would say shit like, storm tonight. Don't go out if you don't have to. Okay. And then it would just rain.
Right.
So this asshole predicted a fucking storm of the century, right? On a weekend. So I'm playing there the whole weekend. Nobody came.
Right.
Because we got less than an inch of snow. A couple. Okay. And he took it in the ass. He still paid everybody. He didn't make no money. A couple people came in. He hated this one particularly. Okay. Don't you think this asshole comes into the club one night with 2 gorgeous women on his arms? A big deal. Okay. And I spot him. And I says, Chris, your favorite fucking guy is here. He says, who? Where's that motherfucker? I went over there like a gentleman. He bought him a bottle of champagne. He says, I'm so glad you said,
Wow.
I have to tell you this. He says, when you finish that bottle of champagne, I want you to leave my establishment, take these two bimbos with you, and never come back. And whatever you order is on me. But please never come into my restaurant again.
Wow.
Yeah, man, he did it with, you know something? He just looked at him and he said, oh, I guess we'll leave now. And he says,
Dude, that's 10-foot cock energy right there, man.
yeah.
Right.
Like that's just saying, look, hey, you know what? I'll pay for your time here, but don't come back.
Don't come back. That's right. He had so much class. He really did.
Do you think it'll ever come back? That level of musicianship, like that level of.
But that club will never. I mean, it's different owners now, so it's not even the same program. I really don't know what's going on over there. It's a shame. I liked playing there, and I liked Chris Dimitri, and I liked the guy that bought it, Mark Danino. I really liked him a lot. I got along with him fine. The people that work for him that are involved in the music is, I don't know. That's what I don't like.
Gotcha.
And there was always a thing there is that the audiences sometimes were louder than the band.
Mm.
And that would really annoy me, you know? Like, you know, somebody had a bachelorette party there one time, you know? All these women. Okay, they're going to get drunk and they're going to make a lot of goddamn noise. It's a fun time. Don't put them in front of the fucking band. And that's what they would do. I mean, those ladies drove me nuts. You know, I mean, they couldn't play. I mean, you can't say anything. It's, you know, I says, you know, you got to figure out, do you want this to be a restaurant or you want it to be a jazz club? So maybe you do both, but somebody's got to figure out, you know, put the loud people at the bar. Put them, you know, don't put them there fucking band. I can't fucking play like, and that's how it ended. I just couldn't play there anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, man. And then the pandemic, you know, and then places are coming back, but it's never going to come back the way it was. It's the whole music business has all changed.
Well, I will say this much, that I got up very early this morning and I was very much enjoying the Frank Vignola Guitar Night.
Yeah.
Your opening number with Parker's tune is just absolutely devastating.
Parker classic.
Like, this is just stupidly good.
Ornithology.
Yeah, like just the harmonies. Let's get to it. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And my point being is that that's live, that's real, that's three guitar players playing that shit.
Yeah. I have the easy part. I'm playing the top part.
You have the easy part. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Nothing you play is easy.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to keep up with what you're doing.
That's good. Frank wrote that. That's good. That's a good chart.
Oh, that was Frank's arrangement?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. I watched most of the show.
You know something? We recorded that on the Concord Jazz Guitar Collective. I don't know. I don't think that tune got on the record, but we did do. The one that got on the record is Donna Lee.
Yeah.
There might be an mythology too, but I don't. That's from Frank. It's really no. It was 3 parts.
3 parts. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just ridiculous. And it sounds great, and it's also amazing because it's live. That's live.
Yeah.
There's no going back and fixing anything.
No, you can't fix that. You know, well.
But what you're hearing is absolutely pristine, beautifully played.
Well, there's another. There's another one too that goes over real well. Is Bittersweet.
Yeah.
And we do that.
Is that on that show? That's on that show. I was listening to most of it.
I know we've played.
There's so many guitar players on this show.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jimmy, you're on fire on this show.
You know, I did like 25 or 26 weeks straight in a row, you know, but I got burnt out. The trip from my house to New York is not easy.
Yeah, not your thing.
I leave at 4:00. I get to New York at 6 if I'm lucky. Okay. Go to the parking lot, do a sound check, get something to eat, and I'm done at 10 o'clock, and I don't get home till midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it costs a lot of money to go to New York. And we started this in the beginning of the pandemic.
Yes.
And there was
because this date here is November 24th of 2021. So you're pretty much in the heart of it.
There was not a lot of people there, so we didn't make very much money. That was the other thing. And this is another weird thing that I hope that I'm wrong. Is that I think, it's great that the music business is coming back, but I think people that due to hiring, they realize that they can get musicians for cheap.
Yeah.
And I think that I saw this myself. During the pandemic, it was fine for me because I'm thinking before the pandemic, I wanted to retire anyway. Okay. I was not going to play. Just teach and jerk off at fucking YouTube. Okay. and play around in my studio. Right. And the pandemic answered my question. Okay. This is perfect. Right. And I really was done. And fucking Frank Vignola fucking calls me, tells me about this guitar night shit. I know Frank forever, it seems. He was a little kid when I met him.
Okay.
I'm the oldest guy in the band. And so he talked me into it. I did start to have a good time, and I practiced, and I, got back into playing, and and went on the road with him to different things, Blues Alley and shit. And I was talking to him one night, and we're drinking a bottle of wine, eating steak dinner, and I says, Frank, you could talk a fucking hungry dog off a meat truck. I says, he started laughing. He says, why? I says, I was so not into fucking playing. And here I am in fucking Savannah, Georgia. I'm back on the fucking road. That's like, fuck, I want to be home,
Yeah.
Talk a hungry dog off a meat truck. He would just laugh. He said, no, Jimmy, says, you got to keep playing.
But do you feel the importance to that, getting back to what we were talking about, the education, like keeping that level of artistic quality alive? Because I know we have this world of YouTube, of AI, of digital kind of, it has its world, but you're talking about, art, when you were talking about when you were hanging out with Pat, you guys were talking about art, you were talking about literature, you were talking about astrology, whatever it was. There was an artistic quality.
Well, everything would, Pat's like a prophet too. Yeah, like a what's the word? Not a prophet. Philosopher. Yes, he lived in that world,
Yeah, but I think in that regard too, your delivery of this music and even that, and I'm going to call it old world education, because I think that's
it is old world education.
But I think it's superior.
Oh, no doubt in my mind that it is. No doubt.
I think it's a superior way of learning.
I just don't think that the way academia works. I'm not saying that everybody that goes to music school can't play. Some of them come out great, but I think they go in great. They can play before they get there.
Right.
They get
so
better.
would you look at what you do, Jimmy, as a teacher, as someone that would take on an apprentice?
Never. You know why?
No.
Because there's no more music business. I don't want.
But I don't mean it as a business. I mean it as the proliferation of the art.
You still have to work. People need you still. If you meet a girl, you're going to get married, you have kids or whatever. You're going to need to make money. And the world that I grew up in, those jobs are gone. They're never coming back. There was a lot of work when I was coming up. I got tired of starving in Philadelphia. Last year, playing jazz. I wanted to be an artist, a starving artist. I wanted to play so fucking far out that nobody understood what the fuck I was playing. And I did. I did do that whole starving artist thing, and it was a fucking drag. So I moved to Las Vegas. Okay. I was making $3,000. First year was there 30. Next year 60. Work. Okay. More cars. But okay. Now I'm sick of that. Go to LA, do that shit. Okay. Come back here. Fuck music, right? I had a little bit of money. I get into managing a bar, restaurant business. That brought me right back around to music again. That's how I met Jack Prince and the whole Concord thing. Total fucking accident. The last thing I wanted to do was make a record. Because I had income from managing the bar. I was a bartender and I could play whatever I want in my own place.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it all led back, But now, kids, okay, there's no more Las Vegas. There's no more studio thing. There's jazz. Where are you going to play? You're going to play for $50, $75? There's people that are moving to fucking New York, young kids, and they're working for $75 a night, playing 2-hour set, 3-hour sets, $100.
That won't even get them a sandwich.
Where are you going to fucking live?
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah. There's no way it's going to pay rent.
Do you know how fucking good you have to be to make somebody fucking notice you? I got to go in the other room because the battery is going. I don't want to end like this. I'm taking you with me. I got to plug in.
Well, I'm honored that you're taking us with you.
Yeah, I'll take you. I'm going to go take a shit. So you want to come? No.
No. I actually want to really smoke a cigarette.
That's what I'm going to do. Smoke a cigarette.
All right. If you guys.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't like the college level. Okay, here's why. Here's the thing. These kids' parents probably paying $30,000 a year, at least. Probably. In reality, it's more. For 4 years, $120,000. Okay.
Yeah, easily.
All right, easily. Now, where's the kid going to work? See what I mean? No jobs. It's almost fraud.
I get it.
19-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid. Put it this way: if there's 500 kids that I've taught, right, college students, maybe one has a shot. Maybe one has a chance that somebody noticed them. Here's what I think. Somebody told me. Carl Jefferson told me this. You have to be so good at one thing that you do musically that nobody else can do. And that's why he hired me. He signed me to the record company. He says, and that's, I says, well, what is that? He says, I can't put my finger on it. He says, but there's something about your music when I listen to it. You're good. You do something that nobody else can do.
Right.
And that's just years ago. And I thought about it. He's probably right. I look at Pat Martino. What is that thing? I think
it's a voice. It's a voice, right?
Yes, that has to be first.
When I listen to your records, Jimmy, I hear that voice. Yeah. And I also hear that's why I said in the very beginning of this show, you scare the shit out of me.
Well,
because your playing is absolutely terrifying.
I know that I can tell it's me after a couple notes.
Yeah, well,
I don't remember everything I recorded. Not from the fall or anything. I just don't.
Right.
I don't even know.
I think you had said before that like some of the records you had done, like by the time it was mixed and mastered, you were like, I don't want to listen to this anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Except for the record you did with Joe Beck, like that was a record that you.
Here's why. We spent a lot of time preparing it. In the beginning, it's those chords that Joe plays. They come out voiced very differently. I watch his hand, and I know what the chord is, but the voice is different. Plus he's in a different key than me. He's a fifth away. Okay. So,
right, because he's playing the alto. Okay.
So in the beginning, it was like not everything I played we liked, So we came to the conclusion of this. I says, you know what, Joe? How about we do this? How about I won't play any fucking chords. You play all the chords, and I'll follow you. I'll test my ear. You can play whatever you want, and that worked. And I'll tell you, he has the most advanced harmonic vocabulary I've ever heard.
Wow.
I was always on the edge of my seat when we did that record, and it was recorded direct to disc. Now, what that meant, I don't know whose idea that was, but he was a little bugged when he found that out. And I said,
"Oh, really?"
Yeah. I said, I don't know really what that means. He knows everything. He's been in recording business for a long time. He knows everything. He says, you know what that means, Jimmy? I says, no, Joe, I have no fucking idea. He says, geez, they don't even have a second ADAP because if we had that, we could punch in. We can't even punch in. Says,
Right? Yeah. No, it's committed.
He says, what the fuck is you talking about? He says, do you know something? You take this tune, and one of the tunes I wrote. He says, do you realize if you fuck up the last note, we got to do it again because we can't punch in? I says, really? He says, yeah. I said, it's fucked up. And I says, well, you want me to call it off? He says, no, I need the money. Fuck you. You better stop. My answer to everything is, fuck it, let's go home. And so it was, man, and then it was really live, and I didn't know what the fuck he was going to play. I mean, I had an idea, and it came out so good. I like every goddamn track upon it. It was all very well planned. We didn't rehearse it to death because we could rehearse the head, but can't rehearse the solos.
Do you think there's something to be said about when you're in that situation where direct to disc, this has got to happen? You're firing on all pistons.
You have to be. I think I play better under pressure.
Exactly. So
and a little hungry.
I remember there was this interview with Alan Holdsworth where the interviewer was like, well, Alan, with your ability, why aren't you playing with a band like AC/DC? Right. And he's like, because I'd be playing at 20% of my ability and no one would believe it.
He actually said that?
Yeah, he said that to the interviewer. And I kind of think that of you, that when you're in this situation where you have to fire on all pistons, you're going to get the best of you.
Well, I think so. I mean, it's not something that I look forward to. I mean, it's not like, wait a minute, I'm going to see how far.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me put myself in a shit show. Let's do this thing.
I want to have my hemorrhoids removed. That's great.
It's going to be the best of me.
Yeah, no anesthesia. No, just light a soldering iron. Wait till it gets blue. Go ahead.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh my God. No. You're killing me, man.
I need a root canal. No Novocaine, Doc. Go ahead. I actually told her my dentist is the best. She's a woman, and
she's a woman.
I say some shit to her, and she just fucking looks at me and goes, really, Jimmy? As I told her, I says, I don't need the Novocaine. Go ahead, start banging away. Okay, rip it out. Says, oh no, we don't use the word rip. Scad, dig it in, dig googe in there, rip it the fuck out. But
oh man,
it's I think you're right, but it's not something I look forward to. I think that the Birdland gig, man, I really took that really seriously. I still do. I mean, that's a major club.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole over the world, everybody knows what Birdland is.
Right.
The owner, John Valenti. I says, John, do you remember when my first CD came out? I came here, I gave you a CD, and I told you I wanted to play for free. I said, just hire me. Okay, this is way before the Birdland, live at Birdland. And he says, no. He says, but tell me what I said. And I says, you told me that you said, I'll play for free. You don't have to pay me. And I says, you said to me, and what do I tell the landlord? I like guitar music. Okay. And I said, and I remember I left and I drove back to Philadelphia and I didn't know what you fucking meant, but I was just disappointed. I says, but now I know what you mean.
Right.
I got into a little bit of the restaurant business. You need people.
Yeah.
Who knows Jimmy Bruno? That's what he meant. Who's going to, what do I tell the landlord? Nobody's going to come and see me. I don't care if you play for free. See? So, but he did remember the whole Birdland thing. And something? The guy that he practically runs the place, a guy named Ryan, he was there. He'd been there so long that he was there when I did those two records.
Really?
Yes, same
Oh,
influence.
wow.
Some of
That's
the
cool.
other people were still that some of the people that work there have been there for like over 10 years, 15 years. I mean, he's doing something right. I mean, the turnover in that fucking business must be ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
I see a lot of the same people. So somebody's making money or something is right about the whole thing.
I follow this idea, and it's something that, kind of wrapping this all together into a package is something that Frank Zappa said. People don't know what they don't know. If you put Bartok on primetime drive time radio, it would be popular. And I still believe that high art musicianship has a home as long as we keep it alive, as long as it's there. And yeah, we're going to go through a shit show in the process.
Well, I mean, it's amazing that jazz is still around. That there is a niche for this kind of music.
There is.
I think that there'll always be great jazz guitarists, great jazz pianists. I mean, if you can't get into this for the money, because there is none, you're not rich. If you make a living, you're good, and it's very precarious. If you're not making money, and you get frustrated with the business, you're going to turn to booze and drugs. I mean, look at some of our jazz heroes.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So it's a danger. I mean, I don't want anybody to be fucked up on drugs. I lost a son-in-law dead from drugs. It's a disaster. So it's and it's like this pot. Yeah, it's only pot. Fuck you. It's not just only pot. Because the pot that I smoked in 1970 is not the same shit that you're buying.
You're not fucking kidding.
And you don't know that. You don't know what's in that fucking shit.
Yeah, I found out the hard way. Fuck that.
Yeah.
No, I can't touch it.
I
had to call my wife from a club one night.
Come and get you.
Went out to see a band. I knew the guy. And he's like, hey, let's go out and smoke it. Yeah.
Right.
I get to the bar and I call my wife and I said, listen, I know where I am right now, but in about 20 seconds, I'm going to forget where I am. This is where I am. If you don't hear from me in an hour, come and get me.
Come get me. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even understand the strain.
No. The medical marijuana and the legal marijuana, it's so fucking strong.
Oh, it's a different level, man.
Yeah, and
I'm talking to elves. I'm talking to fucking elves. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Do you have a horse yet? You call him Jitbag yet?
Yeah. I got a Jitbag horse.
That kind of dope. Yeah. Oh,
it's like I look over it and it's like, that's not my car anymore. It's a horse called Jitbag.
Fucked up story, I tried to smoke pot, because I was drinking too much. I wanted to just do the pot, but I couldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't get real high. Like I take 2 puffs and I would forget how to breathe.
Right.
Anxiety.
I am paranoid. And I would call an ambulance, take me to the ER. Okay. I did it so much that the ER doc, Jim, you're back. You're back. He says, smoke some shit again, did you?
You gotta stop smoking that stuff, man.
Yeah, well, I'll be with you in a while. She says, there's people here that are real sick, but I'll get to you.
Yeah.
You'll be home in about 8 hours. Got to flush that shit out of your system with an IV. You'll be fine. And
that's good to know that there's like, a couple of weeks ago, I did a gummy that I wish I could have flushed out because it was so bad. My wife was like, here, eat some food. And I couldn't figure out how to make the fork work.
Yeah.
I was that fucked up. I'm like, I know that's a fork and I know this is my mouth, but I can't figure out.
And when you eat it, you're fucked.
Oh, yeah, because it's in the liver.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you smoke it, it's like, well, man, okay, I could put the joint down.
Right.
You don't know what's in the fucking there. I mean, some of the best times I had was on pot. But it's like I can't smoke it anymore. I mean, the doctor started to holler at me. He says, "What the fuck, Jimmy?" He says, "There's people here real fucked up. What are you doing here?" And and the guy is like so proper in the beginning, Mr. Bruno and all this other shit. Being around me for like a couple months, I'd see him like once a month, 2-3 times. 2-3 times a week. Like that. He's calling me Jimmy, and he's talking to me. He talks the way I talk. What the fuck? Here you are again. You smoke some fucking.
Yeah, what the fuck? Get back on jitbag and go home.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fucking bad. Oh, you're having another heart attack? Because I always think you're having a heart attack.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to, if I do clinics at schools, I don't do very many of them anymore because who's going to hire a guy that's going to tell kids drop out of school, go take lessons with somebody, move to New York and go study with somebody, just jump it. But, anyway, when I do, I start everyone is my anti-drug and anti-alcohol speech.
Oh, okay, cool.
All the time. I tell them all, I says, listen, I can tell you this because I made every fucking mistake I possibly could make with this whole fucking scene, and it goes nowhere,
Right.
And you know who I think is the best guitar player ever on the scene right now? Pasquale Grasso. You know who that is? Kid from Italy. Pasquale Grasso. YouTube him. He's fantastic. Now he plays shit that I never heard anybody else play.
The last name?
Grasso.
Oh, gotcha.
Get him playing solo guitar. When he plays with another guitar player, they drag him down to their level.
I got him. T for 2.
That's the piano, doesn't it? But pal.
Well, even his fingers look like aliens.
Yeah.
So I wanted to. What was that?
He doesn't need to play with anybody else.
No, he's
that's fine. I did hear him play with other guys. I mean, he can play. But he's better by himself. I mean, he sounds like Bud Powell, Art Tatum.
I was just going to say the Art Tatum thing.
I never met him. Frank hired him. Frank said,
"Oh, really?"
He said it was fantastic. I says, "Well, what did you?" He says, "Man, I just sat back and let him play."
So would you play with him? Would you play with him?
Isn't that fantastic?
Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
See, there he can do something on a guitar that nobody else can do. He's with Sony Records. I mean, I don't think he works very much. I mean, works all the time in New York. Those gigs don't pay anything.
Well, I mean, at the same time. Okay, so let me ask you this on that subject, because I'm looking at, and I hate to bring it to this, but it's kind of part of the paradigm of the world we live in. He's got 26.2K subscribers, and you're not far from that. Like, you've got a lot of subscribers.
Yeah, I know.
Like, are you seeing any money from YouTube?
No.
No?
Now, what I did do was I started another YouTube channel. It's called Bruno's Online School.
Yeah.
Where I insult people to play, okay? And I have a PayPal button there, donations.
Yeah, which I think is a genius idea.
And, most people give $10. Some people will do 20. I got one for the other day for $100.
Yeah.
And it said under there for lessons, okay? Now, for a private lesson, I charge $100. So I emailed the guy because I get his email. And I emailed him and I says, do you want a guitar lesson? I says, because don't send me $100 out of the wind. We got to set up a time, etc. like that. He says, no. He says, it's from what I got out of your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I said, so you don't want a private lesson? He says, no, I don't play good enough to take a lesson with you, but I want you to have the money. He has an animal. He stops animal abuse. He has a company defending. I forget what it's called. They must have a few bucks. I mean, $100, come on, or if they make it a gift.
Or if you just make the experience of Jimmy Bruno a church.
Ooh, boy, Jesus Christ. I thought God might really strike me down because now I'm fucking with him.
No, I'm just saying, because churches aren't taxed. They're tax exempt.
See, that's fucking wrong too.
Father Jimmy, I'm here for a guitar lesson.
I'm tempted to mention it on YouTube about the IRS, but I might alert them. I don't know. I mean, I think here's what scares me. I noticed that if I do a search on Google, right, I get ads on Facebook for whatever I searched for.
Okay.
A wallet. I get ads for wallets. I mentioned
Benedetto. Oh, yeah. The phone's listening to you.
And I don't know whether it's the phone or Siri or Alexa. I mean, they know what's going on.
What do you have at your house? I mean, I don't have any of those things except for my phone. But my phone is now active right now. But if I keep talking about bacon, if I just start talking about bacon,
Siri will come on.
I'll start getting my next feed will be bacon.
Yeah,
it's listening. It's listening to everything.
I mean, it's good. I mean, it's not that I really have anything to hide. I don't do anything illegal. I don't do drugs. I'm not into anything like that. But it's the fact that first of all, it's annoying. It really is annoying. And you get spam calls, and what really turns me off, and I don't know why this hasn't happened to my channel, any of them. There's no ads on my channel, and I don't know why. I watch other.
Are you talking about your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I watch other YouTube things, and there's like someone will say in the beginning, you'll watch the ad, and you can skip this ad now. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Yeah. And I make sure I take note of who the advertiser is, and I never buy that product. Because
you're talking about your channel.
Yeah, even Facebook. Anytime an ad comes on a stream, I won't buy whatever that ad is. It annoys me. And the one that I really hate is it's in the middle of something. I was watching something about Igor Stravinsky. In the middle of it, we will return to your video after this ad. You can't
after this ad. Yep.
That's the one that And
so if I go to your channel and I look, you've got 15.7K subscribers. And if I was to go on to any of your, I'm going to go to videos here. And if I was to go on to like Body and Soul,
Wawa's new salted
advertisement.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Salted caramel.
And the reason is you've got 6.9K views. That's only 7 months old.
You know something? I that comes up for me all the time. Let me see.
Yeah.
Body and Soul, 6.9 views, 7 months.
Yep. So at one point, when you hit a certain number, you should start seeing money.
Really?
Oh yeah, because the subscribers have to pay you because you're getting the traffic.
No shit.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was so fascinated by, your recent posts, because they're generating so much.
It's good. The audience is growing.
Oh yeah, it's fucking great.
But I heard you have to get like 10,000 views.
Yeah, it sucks because you have to get up.
I mean,
dude, you're up there, man. You're at 50.
I found out that I have a channel on Spotify.
Yeah, do you?
Jimmy Bruno music. And you might hear a couple other people, but it's mostly Jimmy Bruno music. I don't get any money for that.
Well, Spotify pays out fractions of a fraction of a cent. Your key to income is YouTube. Your key to income.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. And if you have anyone in your circle, in your world that's really savvy,
right,
then wrangle them in and get them to because
Look at this.
yeah, you can make some bread.
You
I
know,
mean, you can, you know,
I met a guy that owns a record label, and it's one that I want to be on. I won't say the name because I'm not sure whether I'm going to record for them or not. He was interested, but I told him, I said, "How do you make money from CDs anymore?"
from records, yeah.
He says he says everything that he says I'm going to make $4 on every CD that I sell. He says, but if they stream, that's where I make money. Streaming like service. Now he's talking about Spotify. There's a shitload of them. Apple Music,
Apple,
but
Spotify.
he has somebody that can go after the money. Because if you don't make any noise, they're not going to pay you.
Yes, but it also comes down to the publishing. Like, who owns the publishing?
Well, that would be usually the way publishing works is I own half and the publisher owns the other half. Now,
okay, gotcha.
If you're a savvy record owner, you'll be the publisher too. Concord was the publisher. It was something music. Another lady ran it, Phyllis something. Okay, when he died, you know what he willed to her? He gave her the publishing. You can keep it all.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Concord was been sold a lot of times, but they couldn't buy the publishing. He gave it to her when he died.
Wow.
He worked hard for him for years, and that was better than him leaving her. I don't think he had a shitload of money to leave around.
Right, but I mean that's
a
continuous income.
She'll have a job forever, and now she don't have a boss.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. So you have to look. I mean, I have to look into that, but that's where the money is.
Yeah, and definitely look at your YouTube counts. I mean, I'm even looking at the bunker shows. Yeah, and you're looking at 1.8K.
Yeah,
dude, Jimmy, you got high numbers, man.
Yeah,
high numbers. You need to start collecting.
And by the way, I got the money you sent me. Thank you. It's not necessary.
Oh, it's very necessary. I mean, Jimmy, we've been online for 4 hours. I can't. I mean,
okay. You're going to be able to edit this so it makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a great guitar player, but I'm a pretty good editor.
Okay. What did I say that I don't want to? Oh man!
I know what you don't want.
Yeah, do you know Bob Baker, the guy that owns? Well, he doesn't own it. Just Jazz Guitar Online, that magazine online. Mm-hmm. Okay, nice fella. Yeah. The guy that really owns it is a writer for that. Was a writer for Guitar Player. Forgot his name. I know him. Blanking on his name.
For Guitar Player,
the magazine. It was the jazz. Not just Jazz Guitar magazine. No, what might be Downbeat. I forget.
Okay.
Name's Jay something. Anyway, no, there was the magazine that Tommy Tedesco wrote for.
Oh, that was Guitar Player.
That's him, the guy that owned it. That's
okay. Okay, I know who you mean.
Now the subscriptions are free. He makes money from ads. Okay. Now Bob Baker, he wants pictures. Always calling me for pictures. I like the guy. Okay. And it was getting on my nerves for pictures. Geez, Bob, I got to write a lesson. I don't have to. Don't have any fucking pictures. I got to look for them, And I was sitting right here, and he's on the phone, okay? And my cat decides to take a shit in the litter box. So I took a picture of it. I says, well, Bob, I just took a great picture. I'm going to send it to you. Yeah, I sent him a picture of the cat. And the turd was coming out of the cat's ass. I got it this one. And did he laugh? Boy, did he laugh like a motherfucker. You wanted pictures, Yeah, he's a good guy. Get to know him. He's a real pro.
Yeah,
jazz. He's
the real dude.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like him because he doesn't pay for anything. They don't have any money to pay.
Right.
I think Sadowski has ads for him. Howard Paul, Benedetto guitars I see, Henriksen
Yeah.
amps, you know, they're not paying a whole lot of money for those ads.
Gotcha.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, I mean, Pete Henriksen is one of the best guys I ever met that owns that amp company. You know, he's a young guy. He took it over from his father. And man, he treats me like gold.
Oh yeah.
You know, anything I want to give me. You know, he's good people, man. He's doing a lot with this Arch Top Festival. If you can go to that, man, in Denver. Man, if you do these, man, shit, you'd be doing podcasts for the whole 3 days. There's guitar.
Oh, I'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. Send me the info. I'd be happy.
Yeah. There's the maker. All the luthiers are there.
Yeah.
There's new guitar players coming around.
Are you going to that?
Yeah, I'm going to go. There's a guitar camp in front of it, Frank Zappa camp. Last year, all week,
great.
I did that. It's a bit much, so this time I'm just going to do a couple days at the camp, and then I'm going to go to the guitar show. You know, I don't. The guitar camps are, man, it's a lot of teaching.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of playing. You play from the morning to the night. You know.
Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy that?
Not that. That's too much for me.
Is it too much?
I start to hate guitar. It's too much fucking guitar music.
No, I got it. Yeah.
No, it's like I feel like John Valenti. What do I tell the landlord? I like guitar music. I mean, what a line! What's so New York, you know? And I didn't get it. Like I told him, I says, I didn't get it. It took years for me to understand that you're stuck it up my ass, you know. I really like that guy. I really do, man. He's okay in my book, you know. Anyway, Chris, I had a good fucking time.
I'm glad, man. I can't thank you enough for spending the day with us.
Anytime you want to do this, give me a call.
Oh, I'd love to have you back.
Okay. Anytime. And you don't have to pay me. No.
I appreciate that.
All right. Show me that when this is edited, I want the link to it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I'll definitely send that to you.
All right, Chris. I enjoyed it. Have a nice day.
All right, you too. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.